Hey everybody, it's Aldo Gandhi, and I just want to let you know really quickly that our swag shop is reopened. DeepDishTees.com is where you go, and that's tees with T-E-E-S. Clever name, guys. They're the new home of our merchandise. You can get t-shirts, you can get caps, you can get coffee mugs, you can get hoodies, you can get all sorts of good stuff, and you'll help out the bar room with the purchase. So head over to DeepDishTees.com.
Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Put the children to bed. It's time for Dan and Aldo to bare their souls.
I love the Chicago Bears more than I do masturbating, and that is a lot.
Then, with 3 seconds left, Bob Avellini throws a 30-something yard touchdown pass to Greg Latta, and the Bears win, and I literally shit my pants. I swear to God, I literally did.
Eric Kramer, for me, I love the guy. He's a tragic figure. I mean, he embodies all that is.
If they don't run the ball here, I'm going to vomit. I swear to God.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect. He just didn't play that well. Not for a guy of his caliber.
You know, they won, but I'm going to be miserable all week because they stunk.
I don't really have any recollection of that at all, but I guess perhaps I blacked it all out.
So, Dan, tape is the ultimate tool for scouts and for coaches to evaluate players, to detect plays and so forth. And they spend hours looking at tape, right? Why do they so often get shit wrong?
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan and Aldo.
So therapeutic. Woo, woo. Dan, I'm being asked if there's going to be a meet and greet when you are in town or in Cleveland to watch the Chicago Bears game. What do you think about that? You're becoming so popular.
All that has to be coordinated through you, but I'm down.
That's right. Nobody wants to meet me. They all want to meet you. What's going on?
Bullshit. Nobody wants to meet me.
Wait a minute. They were all. Is there going to be a meet and greet for that? Is there going to be a meet and greet for that? Is he going to sign autographs?
Nobody wants a fucking autograph.
Oh my gosh. Dan, did you see that tremendous Chicago Bears win over the LA Rams on Sunday night? And thank God for these gummies, man. They are great.
You know, between work anxiety and the Bears loss, I've been kind of sucking my own dick all day about just overwhelmed, you know, but then my favorite comedian dies, and then the guy I work with here at the radio station's dad dies today. So it puts a lot of perspective into it, and you're like, God, I'm just being an asshole, I guess. But yeah, I was kind of in the dumps, you know, I knew going into the game, I tweeted something like, you know, the best thing about the Bears is that it gives me like an outlet. You know, I don't have to worry about COVID or workplace anxiety or people dying or any of this shit for 3 hours. Mm-hmm. You know, I can complain about where the fuck is Khalil Mack? You know, I can do those things. But that was kind of me saying, like, we probably aren't going to win tonight, even though I wouldn't want to admit that. And having said that, they come out and still lose, and I still get upset. So I'm a fucking idiot.
No, you're not. You're like millions of other Chicago Bears fans who suffer with every offside penalty, false start penalty, Cole Kmet, with every offensive line problem, Jason Peters, Larry Borum. Not that Larry's or Jason's injuries are their fault, but those first few snaps Jason Peters had, he had one good snap where he picked up a blitz, but
he really saved Dalton's ass on that one, though.
Yes, but on another play, he got hit. He just fell straight on his ass. But people made fun of Charles Little being beaten by a defensive back. Well, I'm not sure who it was that knocked Peters to the ground, but not the typical sight you see of a Pro Bowl future Hall of Famer, a guy who, unfortunately, though, is 39 years old. He reminds me so much of Orlando Pace, right? Orlando Pace. Well,
just to be fair, though, Leno did get Fitzpatrick hurt Sunday.
He did indeed, but Fitzpatrick was going to get hurt anyway. The guy is a statue back there, and he's also, 38 years old? And, but, I don't mean to bring up the whole Leno thing. I'm on record as saying the Bears would have been better off with Leno on the roster until we get an established successor to him. I mean, part of my beef tonight is, again, Ryan Pace delivers a 53-man roster that is not ready for prime time. There are holes on the offensive line. There are holes in the defensive backfield. There are coaching decisions that are being made that are just perplexing, not only to you, Dan, me, all Bears fans, but the national media and the local media. You've got a great package of local media stuff, and I was going to try to find some time to put some, because this morning I'm tuning into the ESPN shows, the Fox Sports shows, and everybody in the national media is basically calling Matt Nagy an idiot for having Justin Fields, this incredible offensive weapon, sitting on the bench. It's just so stupid, and it's just so frustrating. So my point is, you, Dan, are like all of us. We are in misery right now.
Hey, I don't know if you saw this specifically, because I normally don't watch those national shows because, like you said last week, that it's the same topics. It's like watching The View or something, like, Dak Prescott and Aaron Rodgers, so I normally don't watch that shit. But I saw, I forget who shared it. One of the guys in NFL Network had this incredible rant about what's his name here, Kyle Brandt.
Yes,
he had this incredible audio about why Fields should be playing.
Oh, you know what? I might have that. And
it's a minute 54. I shared it on my Twitter.
Okay.
I don't know if you can play that, but trust me, anybody that wants Fields playing, this audio kind of authenticates your opinion.
Yeah, let me find that while you continue to rant about what you hated about Sunday's game. Kyle Brandt.
Well, one of the things, again, I shared it on my timeline too, if you want to, it'll be easily accessible there. But one of the things to me that he passed up the points 3 times. I mean, Santos is coming off, I don't want to jinx him, because as Bears fans, we know that what it's like to not have a fucking kicker. But we just had a guy that set the all-time single-season record for most field goal, not just attempts, but makes, accurate kicks in one season. He broke Robbie's record and Cairo Santos. So why are you just like, especially on a 4th and 15 play? I get it's late in the game, but maybe, just maybe you take the points. Maybe you get a 3 and out, even though I don't think the Bears defense has gotten a 3 and out since 1985, honestly. But you get a 3 and out, get a short field, and you go for 2, you get 8 more. I mean, I just 4th and 15, you're not going to get that, especially when you're running a route on 4th and 15 that's 13 fucking yards, even if it is completed.
That's right.
It's maddening.
It is maddening.
And the audio that I sent you. Great, not to tug on my own dick here and say, oh, look at the audio. But no, it's not me saying it. Great statistics from Lawrence Holmes.
Okay.
As you will hear, he goes like with next gen stats about the Bears route tree that'll make you want to punch your fucking ceiling or the wall or through your glass. I mean, in your vehicle. It'll really piss you off.
Yeah, the 4th down and 15 was going to be one of my rants here, but Tucker Carlson of Fox News said it best.
His testicles became swollen.
Yeah, Matt Nagy's testicles became extremely swollen. 4th down and 15. Come on, what the fuck is going on? I have never, ever seen a Chicago Bears coach do that. You've got a memory like Kodak. What do you recall ever a Chicago Bears coach going for it on 4th and 15 at that point in the game?
Not when you're not exactly out of it. I mean, I know it's a long shot, but still take the points and see what you can do, because you're not going to get the first down unless there's a penalty. Unless there's one of those cheap 5-yard, illegal touching. That's the only way you're going to get it, because hell, you're not even going to get the PI because you won't even throw the ball up.
Right.
It's one thing if you're like, okay, go, let's run a dig route. Just go. Just fucking go. Right. We'll throw it up. If it's picked off, so be it. It's 4th and 15, or maybe we get a PI.
Right.
But we didn't even do that.
Right. So the thinking is, okay, this Rams offense is really starting to gain steam. So we've got to keep the ball. So we're going to play it on 4th and 15 and help out the defense. Are you a fucking idiot? The odds of you making a 4th and 15 are like 1 in 15 million. So you're just putting more stress on the defense. Not that they can handle it.
Yeah, the defense is killing me too, because there were numerous times throughout the game where the Bears offense was sustaining long drives. So you can't, not you, I just mean you in a second person, can't come in and say, well, they were tired, because no, there were drives where the Bears had the ball 6, 7, 8 minutes. And then the defense would come out, and in like 4 plays, the Rams would go 80 yards.
Yep.
I don't know what happened. Like, again, I've never been one of these guys that beats on my chest and said the defense. I think the Bears fans that do that shit are just completely oblivious to the games I watch. But I don't want to sound like I think I'm smarter than anybody. But even I, someone who doesn't like just suck my own dick to defense and love the Bears defense and blah, blah. Even me, I was shocked how poor they were. Yeah. And I'm a detractor of the defense.
Yeah, really. You are. A lot of people have been asking. Yeah, I think Dan, or saying, I think Dan was right about Khalil Mack and this Bears defense. So we'll get to that in a minute. But I do have Kyle Brandt loaded up here. So let's listen to Kyle Brandt of the Good Morning America. What is it called? Good Morning Football on NFL Network. It's an excellent show every morning on the NFL Network. And Kyle is a big Chicago Bears fan. Let's listen to what he's got to say.
Here's my problem with this. Nagy knows more about quarterbacks than most people in the world. He knows more about this situation than everyone in the world. I can't tell him what to do. But I'm really done with some of the storylines that were getting screamed and bellowed on national TV last night by some people I really respect. We need to move on from this. You have to take them and wait. And people are still talking about Aaron Rodgers waited 16 years ago. There's still Tom Brady waited 21 years ago. Patrick Mahomes waited. Patrick Mahomes was just fine. I'm actually starting to think the Chiefs might have cost themselves a Super Bowl run by benching him that year. I'm not even kidding.
I like that.
You can bring up those names. That's fine. Bring them up. But just don't forget there is a whole other species of names in this Justin Fields thing that I'd like to bring up right now. Thomas mentioned one of them in this segment. Roll it. What do you say to these guys? Everyone who's saying Rodgers, Mahomes. You to bench Cam Newton as a rookie? It would have been ridiculous. He was a sensation. Jimmy Clausen there. You going to start Jimmy Clausen? No. Russell Wilson, right out of the gate. Wait, you got to wait? No. Russell Wilson had it. You play him. Deshaun Watson had to wait a half to get on. Stupidest half the Texans have ever had to not play Deshaun Watson. You want another one? How about this maniac last year? Best rookie season by a quarterback ever. Only got on the field because of a crazy medical mishap. We don't know what would have happened. And now you're going to say you have to wait Justin Fields? I think you have one of those guys because Justin Fields is not small program, didn't play, opted. No, he played the biggest college football you could play. He dominated in every category, best competition you could play. He was teammates with Chase Young and played against him in practice, and yet he sits. And we got Trey Lance playing. We got Lawrence. We got Wilson out of BYU is starting in the New York media market, and this guy can't play. Why do they get to play with their toys and the Bears don't? I'm waiting for a reason, and I haven't heard one. I think you're messing this up, and I think you're sitting Cam Newton and Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson, and I think you got to let them go.
Ooh, baby! That was awesome. Kyle Brandt.
Jay Cutler tweeted just after the game, this may be the best scenario for you. Fields week 2 starter. You should be happy. He was going at Waddle and Sylvie with that. But I mean, I just don't see I didn't hear what Nagy said today. And I guess
he didn't say anything today. Yeah, he met with the media yesterday. Today was an off day. They were.
So he'll talk again. What, Thursday or tomorrow?
No, tomorrow morning. And the coordinators on Thursday.
Okay. Well, I just don't. He's going to start Dalton. There's no way he's going to.
Yeah, I
he's going to, and Dalton's going to be against his former team. So in theory, he should be able. Maybe we can have one of those reverse revenge games that always happen to the Bears. We talk about it, and it sounds like paranoia, but we could document like 20 instances. Well, maybe this is the one where Dalton plays against the Bengals and throws for 330. But the way our luck goes, it'll be the other way around.
Exactly. It's a great concept, but it's one that is not rooted in Chicago Bears reality. That's for sure. Hey, Dan, I want you to field this one because I think, and I'm going to tee it up for you. Unknown Cuts One says, my fear is if Justin Fields does start, the playbook won't be any different if he's starting or if Dalton is starting. No flow on offense. Feed 32, not number 8. And so, Dan, what I want you to talk about, because you know this better than me and better than 99.9% of the public, is Jim McMahon didn't have exactly the best playbook, but he altered the offense of the Chicago Bears, right?
Yeah, exactly. With McMahon, again, the story that I always bring up is his first game against Detroit in '82. It was Walter who came to him because it was a third down and like 6 or 7, and Ditka calls a sweep for Walter, and McMahon's like, well, fuck that. That's not going to work. The whole damn line's waiting on it. They know that's what's coming. So he does like a cross buck and gives the ball to Suey, and Suey gets the first down. And then the next third down comes, and McMahon's like, he's calling that same fucking play again. Well, it's not going to work. And then he throws a screen to Suey, and they get the first down. And he says, Walter comes up to him immediately and says, I like what you're doing. Keep doing it. You're making us a better team.
That is so good. I love this from JT. He says that when Nagy won Coach of the Year, his ego went into the stratosphere. I think that is an excellent observation because I don't know what his ego was like before Chicago, and in his first year as Bears head coach, he was a fairly likable guy. His opening press conference, I was ecstatic because he could speak much better than John Fox because he comes from the Kansas City coaching tree and so forth, and he had some success as a rookie coach, but then he wins the Coach of the Year and he becomes so effing stubborn, and it just all went to hell, man. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, to be fair, I thought that both running backs played well, but I get the point when people are saying, hey, when David Montgomery's got like 3 carries for 60 yards already, you don't take him out. Mm-hmm. Like it's like he creates a game plan and he sticks to it in spite of what you're seeing. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, we're both going on a road trip, as you know, to Cleveland soon, but we're both going to the hotel from different routes. And if, let's say, we had a specific route that we were both, this is the way we're going, but there was a car wreck, we would adjust. Mm-hmm. We would say, well, we better go and take another interstate route or whatever. But Nagy can't do that. Nope. Whenever something happens, he sticks to the plan because he thinks his plan is just so monumentally smart. And he can't make that adjustment. Like, again, I was happy to see Fields come in on that first drive. I'm not going to lie. But so many other people have said that broke the rhythm perhaps of Dalton, and then as soon as Dalton comes in, you get the false start and the touchdown. There's probably something to that. And at the time, I didn't think that. I'm just being fair. Mm-hmm. But maybe when your team is clicking and you go straight down the field, maybe you say, well, we can save number 1 for next possession. Right. Because maybe you do have some rhythm, so let's stick with it. But it feels like, I don't want to talk out both sides of my mouth. I'm just saying, but Nagy seems to fail to realize what's happening. And I think a lot of that is, again, because he's looking at the playbook and not looking at the field.
Yep, you're totally right. And we'll hear a little bit about that in your media comments. But I want to ask you and everyone in the chat room this question, and then we'll get to the local media's reaction. Dan did a fantastic job of collecting a lot of the local media's reaction to the Bears loss to the Rams. It's about 15 minutes long. It gives me an opportunity to go to the washroom, but it's really worth listening to. We'll get to that in a moment. But I want to ask you this question. I posed it to John Buffone and Tyler Ellis on our new The Bear Debate show. Tyler and John, they debate certain issues. And one of the things that I asked them, and I'd love your opinion on it, and again, everybody in the chat, is who would have played better Sunday against the Rams? Mitchell Trubisky or Andy Dalton, and we saw what Andy Dalton can do. So the question really is, could Mitchell Trubisky have delivered that performance or better or worse? What's your thought on that?
I hate to come at you with an unpopular opinion, but I don't want to defend Dalton, but Dalton did okay. I mean, again, you had the interception, and I mean, he didn't take any chances, but his completion percentage, albeit with short passes, was up pretty high. I don't remember the exact stat. We were going somewhere through the game, and Aaron Michalski made the point. He's like, you know what? He's playing better than Foles or Mitch Wood right now. So we at least have a shot. It's unfortunate that we didn't have a shot because the defense just didn't show up, but I don't blame the loss on Dalton. So the short answer is, I think I love Trubisky, but I think Dalton played better than what Mitch would have.
But Travis Dunaway says, sadly, Mitch would have played better than Dalton because of his legs. And I totally agree with that. Look at the stats from last year's opening game, and I know that's not a fair comparison, but Trubisky had better stats. He had like 3 touchdown passes in that opening day game against the Lions. It took him a while to warm up, and again, the Rams have a number 1 ranked defense, and the Lions don't. But I just feel that Mitchell Trubisky would have given you all of the things like Justin Fields light. You know, all of that ability to create plays with his legs, if he would have been coached right, if the playbook would have allowed him to do those things. I can't understand this disparity of bringing in as your number 1 quarterback with Mitchell Trubisky and now Justin Fields, a running quarterback who gives you all of these options to run, pass, all of this stuff. And then his backup, or in his starter, in the case of Glenn and Dalton, are fossils, and Chase Daniel are fossils, and Nick Foles are fossils. They can't run out. So it's like you need 2 different playbooks. It's like you need 2 different schemes. I truly believe that the Bears would have been better off saying, hey, Mitchell, here's the deal. We're not totally satisfied with the way you're playing. We sign a 1-year contract with us for $5 million. Go ahead, field some offers out there. Sign a 1-year contract with us for $5 million. And we're also going to bring in a quarterback who's going to compete with you. It'll probably be a rookie, but we're going to bring in somebody to compete with you. That would have been the solution to the quarterback problem, as opposed to, and God bless Andy Dalton. I'm rooting for him on Sunday, and anytime any moment that he's in the Chicago Bears uniform, I'm rooting for him. But there is not synergy here. There is not synchronicity. It reminds me again of the Chicago Bears drafting tight end Greg Olsen, a pass-catching tight end, and then they bring in Mike Martz as the offensive coordinator, who doesn't want pass-catching tight ends. He wants another tackle so that the quarterback can stay back there for 10 seconds looking for long pass plays. There's no synchronicity. There's no alignment going on there. So the solution, and I'm just on a rant against Ryan Pace. He doesn't know how to fucking build a team. He doesn't know how to put together a roster. Please.
If I could react to one thing, though, and I was a Mitch guy. I really was. I rooted for him, and I hate to kick him now that he's gone. But here's the truth, in my opinion. It felt like after he took that big shot from Harrison Smith on Sunday night when the Bears were wearing orange in 2018, he didn't really want to run the ball anymore. He seemed gun shy for the last 2 years that he was there. Would he have run the ball? Maybe Nagy told him not to run the ball. I don't know, but it felt like he wasn't the same quarterback with his feet after that Minnesota game on Sunday night when he got hurt. And then couple that with the fact that his completion percentage is nowhere near as high as Dalton's was going to be. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm no fan of Dalton, and I liked Trubisky, but to me, that's the reason I say that Andy would have given us a better shot, because he's going to be more accurate. And Mitch just didn't want to run anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say he was afraid, but it felt like he was a little bit gun shy.
Yeah, I think that part of that, and I don't want to get too deep into this because we want to talk about the 2021 Bears, but I do think that Mitchell was trying to prove that he could do what Matt wanted him to do, which is to be a pocket passer, to have more proficiency as a pocket passer and to only use his legs as a last result. And so therefore, you're kind of putting pressure on him to stay in the pocket and make something happen. And so there's that disconnect there. Whereas if the game plan was suited to his strengths, more rollouts, more quick passing, more slants, and so forth, then they wouldn't have been a problem. You saw what Trubisky did against the Chicago Bears in the preseason, and of course that's preseason, second and third stringers and so forth, but the game plan was perfectly suited for Mitchell Trubisky.
I concur, and to pile on pace here, which was your larger point, how can you be going into year number 7 as the GM and you still don't have a bona fide left tackle? Because am I wrong and off my recollection to think didn't Phil Emery draft Leno?
You're absolutely right.
So if Phil, you could say, well, we had Leno and a lot of people don't like Leno and that's fine, but he didn't even come from this administration. So this guy's been in office almost a decade and hasn't gotten a left tackle.
Yep. That is a
that's
huge,
a damning assessment.
Huge issue. And so you go into 2021 and you lose a guy that Ryan Pace admitted in his press conference, we were fortunate to get him. Yeah, you were. Imagine if you didn't get Justin Peters. Then you would have had to start the season with Larry Borom. And then what happens if he gets injured like he did? Then you would have had no left tackle. Now we're down to Elijah Wilkerson,
and Alex Bars is the backup, I guess.
Yes, I think you're right. But I know how you love Elijah Wilkinson.
Well, the times I saw him on the field the other night, he didn't look as bad as he did in that preseason game. But I didn't analyze the tape or make a package or something like that. I didn't focus on him. But just the few times that I did, it wasn't like he was awful. In fact, a couple of times the line seemed to be, especially with the run blocking, was doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was surprised how many holes there were for Montgomery, because usually when Montgomery gets yardage, it's all on him.
Mm-hmm.
But there were actually some holes. And number 8, come on, the guy from KC, what's his name again?
Patrick.
Well, he wasn't. Not Patrick. He wasn't bad either. I mean, he wasn't as good as Montgomery, but he was doing fairly well too. Actually, the guy that seemed to struggle the most, and when I was watching, was Whitehair.
Cody, I thought didn't struggle, but there were certain plays where he got handled, and that the interior of the offensive line, which is supposed to be their strength, they're just not playing at 100% efficiency. And no offensive line does, but they're not even close to offensive 100% efficiency. Overall, though, I thought that the offensive line was almost like the least of the problems. And people in the chat room are saying Larry Borom played really well. And I agree. When Larry Borom went in there for Justin Peters, he played better than Peters, and he showed some promise. And he could perhaps be that late round, mid-round draft pick that can be slotted into the left tackle despite his lack of experience there and can play. It's possible. But at the same time, I will caution people that you can't – we have a tendency as fans to say, yeah, this guy is great. Did you see that play, or did you see that game, and so forth? What happens over a period of time, and this is in all sports, hockey, baseball, basketball, football, the tape allows coaches to make adjustments. And so then they tell their pass rushers, do you see how he goes? He dips his left shoulder here, or he does that. So a lot of people haven't seen tape of Larry Borom. And so if he is back at the left tackle position for the rest of the season, hopefully that consistency that we saw for several plays in week 1, he can sustain that over a 17-game regular season after coaches have identified what his weaknesses may be. All right.
Well, hopefully he or Peters 1 will play Sunday. I mean, Peters is probably still trying to work his way into football shape too.
That was another
The guy
issue.
was on a boat, as they keep telling us. He was fishing, and he basically didn't have a preseason. So we got to give him a break too. I think he'll be better than what he was in week 1. assuming, hopefully, that one of these two guys can play Sunday and not Wilkinson, but we'll see.
We'll see. Danny Shimon, who on Thursday will host the co-host with me, the Bear Truth. We're going to have some tape on Wilkerson to see what he's done at the left tackle position in preseason games. And
Shimon hates Tonga, right?
He does. And in Sunday's game, again, Tonga looked really good in preseason, but the game in regular season is faster, and Tonga was being pushed around a bit in Sunday's game. Hopefully, if he gets back out there, if he's on the active list and I got to believe he won't be if Eddie Goldman is back, but who knows about Eddie Goldman? Different story. All right, let's take a look and listen to what the Chicago media. Do you want to set this up in any way, Dan?
Yeah, some of it's you're gonna hear the typical stuff that I want to put in there, but some Mac, but most of it is an attack on Eddie Jackson. Most of the stuff that everyone was saying, like, oh my God, Eddie Jackson's worse than we thought. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, these routes are short. Nagy's an idiot. But to set it up, I've taken audio from, let's see, WGN from Dan Hampton's show and Ed O.B. Let's see, I've got some from The Score. I've got some from ESPN Radio. I've got some podcast, your Hogan Johns and Jason Leisure. And I got some Cap on there, so you'll see.
A fantastic selection of stuff. I didn't get a chance to listen to all 15 minutes of it. It's actually around 16 minutes. But what I heard was fantastic. And this was something that Dan introduced last season. It almost served as the outline of the show. Whatever the topics that he found that he thought were interesting, we talked about it the rest of the show. We're already 30 minutes into it, so we've covered a lot of those topics already. But I want to hear what the Chicago media has to say. And thanks to Dan Aguirre, here it is.
What's really sad is in the pregame, we talked about three different concepts or aspects of this game that we were leery of and worried about, and they all have to do with the head coach. Look, this isn't exhibit A or B or C or D or any. It's exhibit Z on why he should have been let go last year. This team on the offensive side purports to have all the answers and all the schematics and all the things you got to have to be able to compete in the NFL. And unfortunately, if you look at the stats, it was pretty abysmal. OB, if you look at Matt Stafford, who tonight playing his very, very first game in that organization, he had 156.1 QBR. Last time I checked, that's called perfect.
Let me tell you something. The Bears finally have gotten a pretty tough schedule this year, okay? From week to week to week, as opposed to the last 3-4 years.
Third toughest of all NFL clubs this year.
Well, right. But, boy, they've had some cream puff years here playing against opponents. But I'm going to tell you, I'll say it again, we need a Mike Ditka coach. This guy does not know what he's doing. You can see it today. You could see it all last year. You could see it the year before. How the hell is it that you got defensive people that really don't even, obviously they don't know the real rules. They haven't been taught or they haven't been coached, just like Glenn was saying. My God, how the hell offensively could you not throw the ball down the field in 60 minutes of football?
Waddle and I think there should be a Fields package, not to just play.
No, that's an awful idea.
Why is that? No, that's a great idea. Why is it bad? What's wrong with it? We're going to fight again. Here we go.
Yeah, that's fine. We can do this. Because you playing quarterback in the NFL, you got to get a flow. You got to get a feel for things. And in and out of the game and then having two different packages as an offensive caller sucks. Because now you got to go a whole different way. You want to run them around, I'm guessing, is what your plan is.
I think Sylvia and I would both probably be okay with a red zone package for Justin Fields.
Yeah, if you're going to do that, just put the kid in and let him play the game.
Well, we'd be for that. I'd be for that, at least. Waddle, would you be for that?
I don't have a problem with it. I don't think they're a true competitor for anything this year, so I'm not heartbroken that he's not going to start right away. I've actually projected that he will be their starting quarterback week 4. against the Detroit Lions after losing to the Rams, beating the Bengals, and losing to the Browns. I think it's a good spot to get him going.
In the red zone, ready to go and score. And what the hell does Nagy do? He pulls Andy Dalton and puts Fields in. That blows the momentum, folks. You can't change that rhythm. They're used to that voice, that name. He's the one that took us down the field. And what does he do? He takes him out, puts Fields in for one play. He just blew the momentum, and he just blew a 7-point lead. I almost came flying out of the chair when I saw Fields come in there. What are you bringing that kid in there for? When the other guy takes you down the field, he's your starting quarterback, and it's the opening drive, and we're moving the ball on him, and you do what? You idiot!
I have no idea what's happened to Eddie Jackson. He's just not the same player. I think I don't want to say I've been guilty of defending him a little bit, but you're kind of hoping that some of what happened last year was scheme-related and that teams were trying to stay away from him. He was involved in plenty of plays.
No, they attacked him today.
And that did not go well for him.
They attacked him.
So
what was his name? Van Morrison?
Van Morrison.
I'm kidding.
It could have been Van Morrison.
Yes.
Hey, neither safety decided to touch the player who was down. Van Morrison, Van Jefferson. That was just a bad omen to start the season.
It's infuriating because I get, like, it's a fast game. You're running fast in those moments. Like, you can overrun things. But there's a sense of desperation at the same time. Like, he's not down. He's not touched. The guy can get up to score. Your quarterback, your starting quarterback, Andy Dalton, just threw an interception in the end zone, and the Rams attacked you immediately. Down the field, double move with the deep post, across the middle, perfect Matthew Stafford throw. But, I mean, you knew they had that coming, right? You just knew it was coming. Great pass. And then your two veteran safeties. These weren't rookies. I mean, this was an all-pro safety. What, 3 years ago? Just runs by him. I get it. It's a fast game, but where's the sense of desperation, at least in this moment, to, like,
there's no excuse for that play at all. You have Roquan Smith look around for safeties like the rest of us were at one point.
But seriously, at one point, like, what the hell, guys?
Around, like, where are you? Where's the help over the top? Yeah. I mean, what are they doing? And that's basically how he was reacting on the field.
Anybody could have thought of putting Justin Fields out there. I didn't necessarily view those 5 or 6 plays as specifically set up for him to have success, that these were advantageous situations for Justin Fields. And I really don't think it helps either guy to keep pulling them in and out in the middle of drives. That frustrates me as an observer. That goes beyond, second guessing something. I have a problem with the approach, with the philosophy of saying we're committed. We're only going to play him in these isolated plays. We're not gauging anything about how well it's going or on the other side, how poorly that's affecting Dalton. Like there was no maneuverability for the plan. It was, we're doing this no matter what. And it's excruciating to watch. When you bring up their offensive line, I don't know how this is perpetually a work in progress. Always. Year after year after year, all these resources they throw at it through the draft or financially, it's still a work in progress. And you talk about them being down to their third left tackle today. I mean, fourth if you're counting Tevin Jenkins. Mm-hmm. And really that whole plan starts with that whole problem starts with the plan of going into the season without a left tackle, without anyone who's an experienced left tackle. That was their plan going into the season. You can't sit here and have that. You can't have that plan in the spring and then sit here and be like, oh, season opener, week 1. I can't believe the offensive line is in tatters.
When you're down 20, and look, we know you're not coming back, but to still be passing the ball horizontally with 3 minutes left to go in the game, down 20, you might as well just run the ball to run the clock. If your goal was, we just need to get out of here, there's a more effective way of doing it than running shallow routes and having Andy Dalton throw sideline to side.
I thought you were going to say something different. I thought you were going to say when you're already down there, why not just let Justin Fields play?
I would have been fine with that too. But let me throw a couple of statistics at you. Dalton didn't complete a pass over 10 yards and only attempted 2. The 2 passes were the interception in the end zone and the 4th and 15 play where the route ended up being 13 yards.
But they have the fastest wide receiver room, don't forget.
They didn't go over 10 air yards on any throw. Like, that's amazing. That's amazing to me. The other thing, like, as I was going through some of the next gen stats, so Cooper Kupp, and remember, Dan, they didn't want to tell you who was playing nickel last week because, oh my God, Sean McVay has to use and waste practice time with who might be in the nickel for the Bears.
And then they just snuck in that Duke Shelley was inactive.
Yeah.
Marquis Christian was terrible.
And Cooper Kupp's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. On his touchdown, next gen stats, it was the most separation that a receiver has had on a 40-plus yard touchdown pass in 3 years.
Oh,
there was
God.
11 yards separating Cooper Kupp from the nearest defender. Look, man. Layla, you had talked, I heard you talking a little bit about it earlier, where, okay, you got your script, right? And your script's all busted up. His inability to see what's happening inside of a game and adjust to it is really maddening.
Like, you lost not one but two left tackles in the game. Why are you running trick plays to that side?
Yep. Because you can't. You can't.
You don't see what happened there?
It doesn't make sense to do.
P.S. That's not taking what the defense gives you. That's running your plan regardless of what you're seeing on the
And
field.
that's why I brought up.
Did it talk about the quarterback play distribution too? Well, like, we could have done this, but then it didn't. And we didn't know how many snaps he was going to play. And then it's like, you're the coach.
You're allowed.
You are the coach. You can dictate it. You're in charge.
Yes.
It's all this fatalism. It's all this floating in the sea of football, buffeted by the winds of fate.
Yes.
Coach the game.
And it's all theoretical football, too.
Matt and Champaign, welcome to WGN. Go ahead.
Where is Kevin or Mac? We traded Khalil Mack. I'm just so frustrated right now.
You're okay.
Two firsts and a third, and I can't remember if it was another player traded for him or not. And at the time of the trade, there was talk about him being a surefire Hall of Famer and a perennial All-Pro. And after one good year, he didn't show up in 19. He didn't show up in 20. And they were talking about the new defensive coordinator they got to replace Pagano because he retired. I don't know if Pagano was just out of gas or what, but he couldn't get anything out of Mac. And this new guy, he was a teacher. Oh, okay, well, whatever. There's no fire. There's no intensity. Where is Mac? I didn't see him getting doubled. The line is the most important part of the game, and he was almost invisible. What is going on with Khalil Mack? Why is he not an All-Pro like that they traded for him?
Good question.
Is it effort? No, I think he's still engaged, and he's trying to be Khalil Mack. But if you watch the film, he doesn't affect the game the way he did in 2018. Now, is that schematic? Is that because Vic Fangio knew what he had and he knew how to utilize him and he knew how to, coach him and help him break down the opponent to where he would be able to have an advantage in matchups? That's the way it looks to me. And I'm just telling you, for 2 years, Pagano had him dropping into pass plays a third of the time, which is insanity. So I don't know if it's all Khalil, but I'll tell you this. Khalil Mack was a hell of a lot better when Akeem Hicks was playing and rolling. Akeem Hicks isn't the same player he was 2 years ago. And so you got, that's what we talk about.
Time is running out on
You get a window of opportunity.
Yep.
And I wasn't the same player in 88 or 9 that I was in 84 and 5. And you know what? It is what it is. I hope. Yeah, I like Khalil Mack, and God knows he's being compensated for, his efforts, whatever they may be. But he's not the same player. Somehow, some way, he's got to find it. And I remember my second year, Buddy benched me after a game, and he goes, "Big rookie, you ain't getting it done." And I thought I was playing hard, but in my heart of hearts, I knew I had to find a way to play harder, lower, more tenacious, blah, blah. And it changed everything. Maybe Khalil Mack needs a little, what would you say, come to Jesus moment.
How about the coaches holding him accountable?
I want to say, I watched the game yesterday with a bunch of guys.
Yep.
And I was watching the alignment, the first bomb for a touchdown. I called it. I said, it's going to be a bomb because I looked at the formation, and
if I can call it, obviously Stanford can see that, smell it, and call that play. You guys, I know you guys have an obligation. I love your show. I've called many times to your show. But I'm telling you, as long as we have Nagy and Pace, we are wasting our breath, okay? I want to say one thing to Nagy.
We're obligated. Well, Ned, we're obligated to talk about the Bears. Is that the obligation you're referring to?
I know you are. Believe me, and you should. Okay? I want to say one thing to Nagy, and I hope he listens to this. If you want to save your job, Nagy, okay, give up the play calling, all right? You can still be involved. You're in charge of this team, okay? Give the play calling to your offensive coordinator. Come up with a plan before the game and focus. Take your face off the playbook so you can watch what's going on the field and assess your players, assess the plays. You can make proper adjustments. You cannot make proper adjustments if your face is buried in the playbook. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. Ned, I think you're 100% right. We appreciate your call. He's exactly right. He's so buried in, as what Waddle and Sylvie called the Denny's menu, that, Coach, you want to fake punt it? Coach, you want to do this? Coach, you want to challenge it? Huh? I'm looking at what the next 3 plays are going to be. That's not what a head coach does.
Aldo?
I am here, and
Okay.
I must tell you that was brilliant. I'm just trying to remove a couple of things so I can see myself on video here. That was brilliant, and excellent selection on stuff, and great comments in the chat room referring to those sound bites that you created. And the guy at the end there is right, and Kaplan was right to say that Matt Nagy is buried into his Denny's menu, and he's not doing the job that he should be, which is to be the leader of the entire team. And so we hired as a head coach a guy who really just wants to call plays. That's what it's all about. He wants to be the quarterback.
He would
That's it.
definitely be happy being the coordinator somewhere.
Yeah, he will. And that might happen if he's lucky to get a coordinator job. He'd probably get a coordinator job at the University of Illinois or something like that.
No, Kansas City would bring him back.
You think so? Yeah, maybe.
If Eric Bieniemy takes a job somewhere, Andy Reid would then bring him back. Real quick, too, to give you more substance to what I chose. If you heard Jay Cutler there, that was from Friday, actually.
Okay.
On Friday, he was against them using a Fields package, but I utilized that by coming right back with Ed O'Brien being so critical of when they took him out on the first drive, being Dalton. So I wanted to use Jay, but that's how I kind of forced it in there to use it as a transition.
Okay.
But he was against that on Friday, though.
Oh, interesting. You know, and I gotta tell you, listening to Ed O'Brien just makes me smile. He is so Chicago Bears. I mean, when him talking about the Bears defense and a lack of tackling and so forth, when this guy, he played, and I wasn't really old enough to appreciate the last season or two. I saw him a little bit, but I looked at a lot of NFL films of Ed O'Brien playing, and this guy really put his body out there. He sacrificed his own physical health to make plays. And so I posted a video of Eddie Jackson whiffing on that tackle on a 3rd and 13 play that allowed the Rams to pick up a first down on an important drive. I posted that on Twitter saying, you know, it was an embarrassment to the uniform, because you, Dan, and me and everyone else that's a Chicago Bears fan, we know the history of this team. And that is that they have a fearsome defense, that they don't take shit from anyone, that when they hit somebody, they're going to fucking bring them down to the ground, and they're going to play to the whistle, and they're going to inflict harm and punishment. And that's what the Chicago Bears are. Unfortunately, like Ed O'Brien is saying, you know, maybe we need a Mike Ditka, and maybe, you know, Sean Desai. I love the fact that we have an intellectual guy running the defense. And I know that some people in the chat room, Adeptus was one saying, you know, that ain't going to cut it. We need somebody who knows football and plays hard. And I agree with that. I want Sean Desai to succeed for many, many reasons. But at the same time, if he's not getting these guys fired up to tackle, then that's the first and foremost failure, and you can't continue to do that job. So hopefully when this defense comes out against the Bengals on Sunday, they're not only going to tackle, but they're going to get people to bleed and vomit at the ferocity that they're hitting people with. Dan, you know it as you're a connoisseur, you're a historian of Chicago Bears history. You know that this team is built on violence.
Ed, yes. Ed, by the way, was asked, I didn't include it in the piece, by another old-timey, kind of guy that was a fan in the early 60s, when Ed won the championship. And he said, what do you think Hallis would do with Eddie Jackson if this would have occurred back then, or if Hallis hypothetically were still coaching today and he had to make the decision? And that kind of bleeds over to my next thing. Basically, Ed said, look, I was with Hallis when we won the championship and then when we were 1-14 or 1-13. So he goes, there's no doubt in my mind that he would be on the bench next week immediately if Hallis were still making the call. And that was interesting that I did include in the piece that Dan Hampton said the best thing to happen to him to bring back his fire was when he got benched and he thought that he was playing hard, but that kind of opened his eyes and he was advocating Mac getting benched. And what do you think about that?
I think that it's too early to be making these kinds of calls to call for the benching of your star players. You've got to give some more time. I mean, it's one game, and I know there's only 17 of them, but it's still too early to call for Mac or Jackson or anyone that is a guy that the Chicago Bears have invested a lot of money in to be benched, other than Andy Dalton, because that's a clear case that you've got somebody on the bench who can give you a better chance to win. Let's say let's say the Bears bench Eddie Jackson. Is DeAndre Houston Carson or Deion Bush really going to deliver more? You know what Aaron Rodgers did to Deion Bush when Eddie Jackson went out for one play on that opening game last year. Rodgers went right after him. And so, the thing is that these guys that you've made huge investments to, they have to play better. And Greg Gabriel, and it was if you look at Barroom Network, I did a little promo with Greg Gabriel, and
he defended the nickelback.
He did Christian, right? But what he also said that he's not in favor of publicly chastising players, because Ryan Badgley said, well, look at the Tennessee coach Vrabel. He chastised Julio Jones for that stupid penalty, and Gabriel said, with all the coaches that he's worked with, and that includes Bill Parcells, Dan Reeves, great coaches, they never did that, and he seconds that. But he also said
Parcells called Sims out all the time.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. I should have remembered that and told Gabriel that. But the point was that Gabriel was saying in that clip was, in the practice room, that's when you get on him. You've got to go to Eddie Jackson, Sean Desai, that this is your job. You got to say to Eddie Jackson, you give me another tackling effort like that ever again, and you're going to be riding the bench on the very next play. I don't give a fuck if we're playing Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. I don't give a fuck if we're playing Johnny Unitas at quarterback. I don't give a fuck who it is. You're going to be on the bench. You have got to tackle better, and that's what should be going on. And if Sean Desai is not smart enough to realize that, then he's not smart enough with that doctorate that he has in education to be coaching in the NFL. That's
Ed Obrenovich's point. If you give him more context, he was saying that, in his opinion, that Nagy wants to be everybody's friend. And he wants to, after he's fired from Chicago, he can still say, but I made some really good friendships like Eddie Jackson, and Khalil Mack. So I don't have to hold them accountable, so they'll be my friends. That's the reason he says you need a Mike Ditka type that wants to come in and make fucking moves. It doesn't matter whose feelings get hurt, because the idea is to improve the team.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of talk in the chat about Mike Pettin. We know that he is more of a Mike Ditka coach than a PhD, doctorate type of guy. Now, a lot of people say that his defensive schemes are PhD level, but we also know that Mike Pettine isn't going to take shit from an Eddie Jackson. And so maybe if this effort continues, lack of tackling, lack of effort, seemingly, because I will never say, hey, that guy didn't try hard enough. You can see it, but at the same time, he might be hurting. He might be playing with a pulled hamstring.
I think what it is, and again, I'm just a fan, just a guy in a chair. So I'm not saying I can play any better. Not saying I'm any smarter, but I think this analogy, I've used it several times in the last year plus we've been doing the show. I think it's so apt. It's Rocky 3. It's Rocky 3, man. He got money. Again, the opening point of Rocky 3 is it shows Rocky with money, with endorsements. He's doing this. He's hugging his wife. He's riding a motorcycle. He's living the life. And you see Mr. T fucking running through Chicago and doing sit-ups and pull-ups and sweating and just being a monster. And that's the Eddie Jackson, to use Rocky 3, has lost the eye of the tiger. He's gotten paid. We've seen it before. It happened to Nathan Vasher, the interceptor, who had like 0 interceptions after he got paid. Yeah. I mean, it's just sometimes when you get all that money, you become soft.
Yeah.
And it seems to have affected. It happens with boxers, and it certainly has happened with our safety.
Well, Unknown Cut says it's possible that Eddie Jackson is not the same player since his injury in that season finale against the Green Bay Packers in 2018. And that's a good argument to make. But here is the truth about Eddie Jackson. When he was at Alabama, his scouting report came out. I read all the scouting books and so forth, and that was one of the knocks on him. Not a refined tackler, not an aggressive tackler. And I remember one scout saying wasn't asked to tackle at Alabama, was asked just to play the center field safety spot. So he came to the NFL with that reputation of can't tackle well or wasn't asked to tackle. So what have we seen during his tenure with the Chicago Bears? He's always been a bad tackler. Now it's just gotten worse. And maybe it's gotten worse because of that injury, or maybe it's gotten worse because Pagano and Desai are not, are not Vic Fangio type. Fangio being, very smart, but much more Ditka-like in terms of his approach to motivating players. So maybe that has something to do with it. I just feel like there's this video on the Chicago Bears YouTube website where you see Eddie Jackson telling his teammates, anybody can tackle, it's getting turnovers. Well, right now, dude, you're not doing any one of those two. You're not tackling, you're not creating turnovers, and all you're doing is embarrassing the uniform. So get it together, Eddie. Get it together. We need that. We need you desperately. There's so much invested in you from the fans, the organization that's paying you all this great money. We need you, Eddie Jackson.
And they deferred some of his money in the summer, so it makes it even more daunting to cut him after the year. He's pretty much stuck with the Bears until after 2022.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one more point on the injury. I don't want to shit on the person in the chat room. I forget whom you said was talking about his injury against Green Bay. But let's not forget, that was week 15 of 2018. He was dressed 2 weeks later for the wild card game. Now, he didn't play,
right,
but his injury was such that at least he was in uniform 2 weeks later. So if that would have been a career-altering injury, I mean, he would have been out for the season.
Yeah, but it could have been psychologically. You know what I mean? Is that
guys, I can see that. That's what happened to Trubisky, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He got that big shot, and then he got a little bit leery of running around.
It happens to, I would say, more than 50% of NFL players. Once they have faced some type of catastrophic collision, where they're laying down on the ground and thinking, and it could be something as simple as an ankle injury, but to them, they're thinking, oh, my fucking career is over. Oh, this and that, millions of dollars down the drain and so forth. It can alter their play psychologically. So perhaps that is what
I know
happened.
a girl that was in a car crash when she was 20. and she's 31, 32 now and will not drive still.
Really?
She's so afraid because she got into a car crash when she was young that she just Ubers everywhere or gets rides. She lives in the city, so she doesn't, really have to go anywhere. If she does, she rides with somebody else. She will not drive now. So it's the same kind of concept as, you are affected by trauma in different ways, and the players can be as well.
Oh, I thought you were going to get into one of your sex life stories. Never mind.
No. I was just saying, because we were talking about facing adversity and injuries and being hit really hard could make you less apt to wanting to take that same blow. Well, like I said, the average person, I know. So like I was saying, the person, Amy, who won't even drive a car now, because she got into a crash 12 years ago.
Yep. Hell.
So, I mean, and I'm not mocking her in any way.
No,
I'm just saying,
absolutely not. Absolutely.
It just affects people. Some people get psychologically scarred, and maybe that is what's going on with Eddie Jackson. I don't know. But if that's the case, then he can't be out there.
Yeah, exactly. And so, we're getting to that point where that you have to start asking that question: should you bench Eddie Jackson? So, for instance, I'll ask you. This was a question I posed to Tyler and John Buffone on the Bear debate that you will see tomorrow, Wednesday morning, here on the Barroom Network. Should the Bears even consider benching Eddie Jackson for the Cincinnati Bengals game, or if he has another performance like he did against the Rams, against the Bengals? Is it time to say, okay, dude, guess what? We'll find some role for you in the team, but you're not going back out there as a starter of this defense?
I would give him the first half against Cincinnati in the same way Trubisky got the hook in week 3 last year. Granted, this is week 2, but if he comes out playing the way he did against the Rams, then he's on the bench by the half. I would. That's my opinion. And then after the game, wasn't he tweeting pictures of Ed Reed?
Was he? I didn't see that.
Yeah, I mean, he's nowhere near Ed Reed. No one's going to confuse Eddie Jackson for when he's wearing 39 or 4 to being in Ed Reed's league.
What was the context of that?
Confounding.
What was the context of that? He just sent out a picture of Ed Reed. Did he say anything along with it?
Yeah, I don't recall. I think he was comparing himself to Ed Reed, but it was the middle of the night, Sunday into Monday, after the game, and it's just like, he's comparing himself after that game to Ed Reed. And it's like, dude, you must just be completely oblivious to everybody else in the world that watched the game and saw it's been the last couple of years. But to transition just a minute to 52, not to pat myself on the back, because I don't want to be I'd rather just be, Bears winning and be wrong than be right.
Sure.
But there are other people that are coming to my, my side of this.
The very first comment in the chat was that. I agree with you now, Dan, from Bruce Ali, Walter Jordan.
I have taken so much shit from people in the chat room and on Twitter and things the last 2 years plus, when I was just coming on 100 proof and was like, dude didn't even show up in the playoff game. He didn't do anything against the Eagles. That was disconcerting, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt. And then 19, when it's like, oh, he's doing nothing. And that's when everyone's like, oh, well, the tape says he was quadruple blocked on every play, which is not true, but okay. It's like we're, okay, I was about to say Republicans. I don't want to be mean to one party or another. It's like he's our political guy, whether we're left or right, and he's our candidate. So we're just going to lie and spin for him no matter what and say, well, he must just be double teamed every play, must be triple teamed every play. We can't just call him out and say he's not making fucking plays. But now people are seeing that because for 2 years, people have been protecting him based upon his reputation. I mean, I couldn't believe he was like number 60 in the Bears top 100 after one season.
Let me play devil's advocate here a little bit. I actually wanted to go back and look at every snap that Khalil Mack had Sunday night for my edification and to put it out there, record it and put the 50, 60 snaps that he had, put it out there on YouTube so that people could talk about it and we could talk about it. Maybe it'll be a topic of discussion Thursday night with Danny Shinman on his Bear Truth show. But on that first drive that the Rams scored on, the very first play that was a pass play, Khalil Mack was chipped by not the tight end, the receiver. It was either a tight end or receiver. They chipped him on the way out to get their pass to run their pass pattern. So it impacted Khalil Mack's rush. A couple plays later on the touchdown pass that everyone is focusing on Eddie Jackson's and Tishon Gibson's lack of effort in downing the pass catcher and Jackson's terrible coverage on that play. Well, notice what happened on that play. Matt Stafford gets the snap and he rose away from Khalil Mack, rose totally away. In addition to that, the player coming out of the backfield, Khalil Mack, fell into coverage and guarded him. So I'm not saying these kinds of things happen the entire game. I'm not saying that Khalil Mack is still the player he was at the zenith of his career. 2018 probably was. I'm not saying that Khalil Mack is Superman and that injuries can't. He's clearly suffered some decline, but there is still strategy going on the part of the opposing team to neutralize what Khalil Mack can potentially do.
And
that's part of the issue.
Every game.
Yeah.
Why can't Mack make adjustments? When does Mack say, well, I'm actually, at the time, the highest paid defensive player in the league. You make an adjustment, I make an adjustment. It's just for like 3 years.
Okay, so what kind of an adjustment are you going to make on that Stafford rollout play away from Khalil Mack when his assignment is to guard the back? If the back is going out, guard him, because there's no way you're going to get the quarterback because he's rolling out away from you. What kind of adjustment can you make if you're getting chipped by a receiver going on in a pass pattern? What kind of an adjustment can Mack make?
Let's rewind. If this were September 2018 and you were going to tell me that we're going to trade 2 first-round picks for a guy
I agree with you
that can be completely shut down and is, to use again a Richard Nixonism, he always said that he's talking about America getting out of Vietnam, called us a poor, pitiful giant. If Mack is a poor, pitiful giant, incapable of I'm being chipped. I can't do it now. I can't even get a hit on the quarterback, not even a sack. I can't even touch him. I mean, if this guy could go 3 years without any significant statistics, I would say, don't make that trade. Don't make that trade, because those 2 first-round picks and the money you've given this guy says you better be good enough to make adjustments to throw that guy chipping you down and go get a sack. It never happens. Never.
On the old 100 Proof show, I said the same thing, and I was ridiculed by Phil and Shane for saying that. I would just have waited for him to become a free agent and go after him. You're fucking kidding. You're going to get a guy like Khalil Mack, a difference maker. I'm like, I love draft picks. I like to build a team with young guys. I would rather draft a Myles Garrett with a draft pick than trade away 2 number 1 picks for a guy who is already past his prime or is at his prime, and the team is not close to winning because you don't have a fucking quarterback or a coaching staff that knows how to win with the quarterback that you have. So I'm with you,
man. I was brought on 100 Proof and mocked and made fun of because my cat was missing and all this shit based upon the fact that I said the Mac was struggling. They're like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. So I get it. Yeah, I was, denigrated too for having this opinion.
And and I'm not saying that I'm right or wrong. It's a philosophy on how to build a team, right? And so my philosophy is you don't trade for guys who are at the top of their career unless you can say, that's the one piece that we need to win a Super Bowl. That's the absolute piece. And when we traded for him in 2018, that wasn't the piece. No fucking way. It was
at the time. I'm just going to be fair. I was happy at the trade because I thought that the guy we were getting in 2018 was the guy we were getting for at least 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. And he certainly earned every dime that we paid him in 18. And he's been there. He's playing every game. I'll give him that. He's missed a couple of games, handful of games. That's it. Mm-hmm. But considering what this franchise has sacrificed for him, the returns haven't been. I wish we could have a recall election on that fucking trade, like they're doing in California tonight. So.
How true is that? Now, a lot of that is being said about Akeem Hicks. He has not talked to the media. He didn't talk to the media throughout training camp. He was
but Jason Leisure quoted him several times today. I don't know where he talked to him.
I was just going to get there. He was at a charity event, signing autographs and helping to promote the charity event. And I apologize, I don't have that at the tip of my tongue in terms of where he was at. But he did answer some questions that Jason and some of the other reporters posed to him. And Akeem basically said he didn't want to talk to the media because he was celebrating the fact that he's been in the league for 10 years and he just wanted to kind of be in his own mind and so forth. And he also said that it's very important to him to retire as a Chicago Bear. He wants to stay here for the duration of his career. And so the question
I believe that too, by the way, because his mom, when he signed here, 6 years ago, whatever it was, he said that his mom was a Chicago Bear fan and wanted her son to play with the Bears.
Yep.
So,
yep. I don't doubt him. What I think being a Chicago Bear means a lot to him. They basically had confidence in him. He was drafted by the New Orleans Saints. It didn't work out there. He went to the New England Patriots. He showed promise there, and the Bears aggressively went after him, and he left the Patriots to come to the Bears. So that says a lot about what he thought about the franchise coming in, and the fact that he is trying to sign a long-term contract with the Bears, I think says a lot about his affinity for the organization and Chicago Bears fans and so forth. But the question is, from a business standpoint, from a fan standpoint, should the Bears re-sign him to a contract extension? Is at his age and with his productivity, what would be a fair deal to keep him on the team if you think he should be on the team? Because remember, if you give him, say, $7-8 million, which I'm sure is minimum of what he wants, then it's going to be.
How are you going to give it to Nichols?
You got it, brother. You got it. So answer that question. What do you do with Mr. Akeem Hicks?
I don't know. I mean,
tough,
it would
right?
be nice if you could work it out. You swing both of them back.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's a 2-year extension or 3 at the max, I would think, at the absolute max. But, I mean, he's got to show some more fire, too. I guess he had officially a half a sack the other night.
Mm-hmm.
He had another bad penalty.
Yes.
But, the thing I don't get about the Bears defense is that and this, again, I don't want to just sound like because I am rooting for Khalil Mack.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say that again.
We all are.
But anytime there's a bad game, when there's a bad game like Sunday where the defense clearly lost the game. Now, none of us were happy with Dalton per se and would like to have seen Fields, but the offense wasn't necessarily the problem, the big problem anyway. It was the secondary and the lack of pass rush and the D. But anyway, you never hear from Mack or Hicks after the game. No one ever stands up. Mack never talks after the Bears lose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're the highest paid guy in the league on defense, or at least he was. I don't know if he still is,
mm-hmm.
but he was for a couple of years. I mean, man, you got to be the face of the team. You got to talk.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things I always criticized Urlacher for. His dick-headed one-word answers, go to foxsports.com, whenever you'd ask him a question, because he was buddies with the guy that does karate, the little short guy. What's his name? It's on Fox.
Yeah.
The Insider.
I know who you're talking about.
Whatever. He's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you're the face of the franchise,
Sean Hannity.
Say it again.
Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity. No, not Sean Hannity.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The little short guy that's on Fox that's a UFC guy, but he's like their football.
Oh, Jay Glazer.
Yeah, Jay Glazer. He's friends with Jay Glazer. Well, maybe Sean Hannity too, but he's obviously friends with the former president. But what I'm saying is, if you're the face of the franchise, you got to go up and talk. Like, how many times do you think Cutler didn't want to go talk whenever he threw the 4 picks, and he still did?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was forced to, but he had to.
Yeah,
but the defensive guys never do that.
Well, and there are some guys who are just not comfortable talking to the media. I remember who was the Marshawn Lynch with the Seahawks. He hated it. I'm just here because I don't want to get fined. And I can understand that. I can appreciate that. It's just not in somebody's DNA. And so
when you're the face of the franchise, it comes with part of the territory.
Yeah, but you know what? I would rather have a guy who can give me 15 sacks and play at a near player of the year level than somebody who is just average and is very talkative and eloquent. Unfortunately, we don't have any.
Well, I'll give you just an example. When the Bears lost in '86, as you know, the 14-2 season, and they lose with Doug Flutie, after the playoff game, you just got beat by Jay Schrader. You're like, what the fuck happened? At least there's Mike Singletary standing on the field answering every question CBS Sports had for him.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I do think it's an obligation, but I also am sensitive to the fact that some people are not comfortable with that. And so, it is what it is. There are bigger problems than dealing with, guys who are reluctant to talk to the media.
I mean, Scott Norwood missed the Super Bowl 25 championship by missing a field goal and answered questions about how badly he missed the kick, for 40 minutes after the game.
Yeah, and kudos to him, absolutely. Mule Skinner says Walter Payton rarely talked to the media. That's not true. That's not true, Mule. He talked to the media all the time. I met him in the green room of the Mike Ditka show. He was Mike's guest. This was when I was working at the local CBS affiliate here in Chicago. And Mike Ditka, during 1984 to 1991, his tenure here with the Chicago Bears, or more into the mid-90s, he did the Mike Ditka show at our studios. And so one time he got Walter to be a guest on the show. And I went into the green room, shaked Walter's hand. It totally engulfed my hand, had a short little chat with him. He was engaging. And once he was on the show, he was great. So Walter did talk to the media. It was a different media kind of thing going on back then. There weren't all the outlets available and so forth. But I don't think Walter was ever shy about talking to the media. You're the historian here. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I just think it was after the Super Bowl. And I hate to, I'm not going to kick Walter Payton on a Bears podcast, nor the fact that gentleman's a Hall of Famer and he's no longer with us. But I think maybe Walter would reevaluate his actions on January 28th, 1986 as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you come across as a little bit self-absorbed when you're more worried about your personal statistics than winning a championship. And everybody else on the team basically said the same thing. Like Fensick was like, man, I'd love to have had a couple picks and, an interception taken back for a touchdown, but fuck it, we won.
The one thing I will say in defense of Walter Payton, and I agree with you, he should not have been so visibly upset. That should have been something he should have buried and dealt with later. But this guy played for some fucking god awful Chicago Bears teams. And it wasn't just that he played for those teams.
He was the face of the team for a decade.
And he wasn't just the face of the team, Dan. You know this. He was the sacrificial lamb. Right. He was like, and he said, I remember one time he was putting his stuff away in his locker room after a game, and he says, I can't continue to run the ball 30 times. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he was basically saying, they're trying to kill me out there.
He said his head was ringing.
Yes.
His head was ringing, and the next play, it's a 34 straight up the middle, and his head's still ringing from the last hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They said, well, how much longer can this continue? And he said, not long.
Exactly. I remember it so vividly. And Mio, we understand that you're not kicking Walter. You were just simply making a point about his media availability, but we just remember it a little differently than you do. Walter was, but back to that point, Walter, his frustration, I think, stemmed a lot from that. I did so much for this team, and here we are finally, 10, 12 years, finally we get to the Super Bowl, and they don't even fucking give me the ball in the goal line, and they give it to the Fridge, who was a Mike Ditka creation, and that was an ego call, EGO call by Mike Ditka. He wanted the Fridge to throw for a touchdown, run for a touchdown, and catch a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Why? Because he knew he would have looked like a genius. He would have been, people were
I
calling.
I think you're making him sound too much like Matt Nagy. I honestly think Ditka, Fridge was, the whole country was behind Fridge. Like, he was a story that wasn't just Chicago. Like, he made football fun for an entire nation for 1 year.
Mhm.
Everyone loved the fat guy catching the touchdown, the Fridgeettes. So, I mean, he was a pop culture phenomenon, is what I'm saying, for shortly earlier in his tenure. I don't think Ditka was forcing him as much as like Matt Nagy does with, oh, please let me look smart. I think Ditka was just caught up in it, and he's renounced that several times over and over, saying, I should have given Walter the ball. And he just got caught up in just trying to win the game, and just caught up in the fun of beating the other team senseless,
And yes, great point. And kudos to Mike Ditka for admitting that he made a mistake.
He has many times.
Kudos to him for that. By the way, have you seen those commercials that he's doing for that betting company?
I have not. Is he still rocking the beard, or is he back to the stash?
You know what? I think he has. I don't recall. I was just taken aback by how old and frail he looks, and he's still the great pitchman that he's always been. But
he's got to be in his 80s.
Yeah,
he's got to be in his 80s. I fairly off the top of my head, I think he turned 50 in 89.
That sounds right.
So if that's the case, he was 60 in 99, 70 in 09, 80 in 19. So yeah, the guy's 82 years old.
So God bless him. I hope he sticks around for another 10 years. But I just,
he still looks older than Virginia does, though.
Yes, he does. Well, he played football. Virginia didn't. She just watched the
true.
cute
She
football
was busy
players.
lusting after the players.
Exactly. So, but I was wondering, when they signed Ditka to do these commercials, I just wonder if they showed up for the shoot and then they looked at Mike and said, "Holy cow, we didn't realize he was this old." But God bless him. He does a good job on those commercials, and hang in there, Coach. We are always rooting for many more years of you continue to pitch. Every time I go to the supermarket, I won't say every time, but a lot of times I go to the supermarket, I buy my Mike Ditka Italian beef. It's excellent. He still has his name in a lot of products, and it usually makes good choices about what he sponsors.
I want to buy some Mike Ditka Italian beef when I'm in Chicago.
All right. Yes. You know what?
Just for the fucking novelty of it.
That's right.
Can it survive a 10-hour car ride?
Probably not, because it's got to be kept frozen. If I could
have to get a cooler then.
Yeah,
or can it survive in a cooler?
Yes, I think it will. So
now, are we talking beef, or is it only steak?
It's beef, Italian beef.
Okay, yeah, that
Chicago
sounds
style.
Delicious. I would love to have it,
and it really is. Yes,
I really want to eat at Ditka's. I hope we can make that happen.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. So when you're in town,
like I said, though, it's Saturday, Sunday. They close at 9 Central both nights. So
yeah, we'll make it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll make it. Yeah, I got to figure that out.
I want to go to there. I want to see what he's got at the restaurant. I mean, it's got to be a bunch of memorabilia, right?
Oh, tons of it. Tons of really cool stuff. Yeah,
I've got to see it.
Yeah. Now, I haven't been to the Oakbrook one, which is the one we're going to since they closed the downtown location. But I got to believe that a lot of the memorabilia they had at the other location is now at the Oakbrook location, which will make it an even more fun experience.
Yeah, he's only got one there and one in Pittsburgh, which I'm going to Pittsburgh next year for Rage Against the Machine, unless COVID cancels it again. And I'm going to find Ditka's restaurant in Pittsburgh next year and go to that one, if it's still open in 2022.
I am missing so many great comments in the chat room. And by the way, we are hopefully going to have an addition to this particular show that's going to help us with more engagement with the chat room. We're working out the details now. I won't mention a name or anything like that, but I'm very, very hopeful that we can make that and make this program even more robust and interactive. I love to read these comments and so forth, but sometimes I'm handling so many things here, plus my drinking. That makes it very challenging for me. All right, so I wanted to ask you, since we were on the topic of what to do in town, is I definitely am going to, I live 2 blocks away from Walter Payton's Hill. the hill that he famously would run up to get up and down to get in shape and so forth. So we're going to go there. So hopefully you will be in
that's
shape.
a golf course now, right?
It's a golf course now, yes, but there's a beautiful trail that leads up to
Are
the
we
top.
allowed on it, or do you have to be like a golf course member?
No, there's the whole area is like a visitor's area or a place where you can see the golf course, but there's an area set up at the top of the hill with a plaque for Walter that people go to all the time, take pictures. Kids are there at night smoking marijuana, finger fucking, and so forth. So we'll go there, and then I'll take you to another spot where there's a great area of the golf course with the huge number 34. We'll take some pictures there and have some fun. So
does anybody else in town have anything that left, like any of the old players, like a restaurant or?
No, not that I can think of. I'll ask the chat room here. Guys, if you could recommend some like Chicago Bears things for me to take Dan to see, what would you recommend? And I'm also trying to work on this meet and greet, get a place where we can meet together, and a lot of fans will love to talk to you. Stephen Me says, Aldo with the stopwatch while Dan struggles up Peyton Hill. That would be a sight.
Yeah, I don't know about all that, but
I actually took video of Draft Dr. Phil running on Peyton Hill. And I was going to make a really cool video with NFL and music and ask you to narrate it and Phil doing all these things. And I never got around to it. I think that's why he was so pissed off at me and our relationship. And that motherfucker never did my video of my favorite player. And he'll probably get super pissed off if I do a video of you at Peyton Hill. So that'll
no, I'm not
make
going to
things
do
worse.
that. I don't want to take any shots at Phil.
No, we're not taking shots.
Even though I'm sure that they mock me relentlessly, I would imagine.
I doubt it. I doubt it very much. Why would they do that? Besides it being their shtick. So, all right. If anybody can think of anywhere else that I can take my man Dan to, that would be great. We
need to watch that Sopranos movie. It opens that weekend, even if it's at your house.
Yeah, on HBO Max. We have that.
Yeah, I watched a horror movie that came on HBO Max the other day that was dreadful.
Well, It's Alive.
No. Okay. That's from the early 70s.
Oh,
it's something that's in the theater now.
Yeah, what is it? What do you remember the title?
Just give me 30 seconds here.
Yeah.
I was texting someone about it. Malignant.
Yeah, I meant to watch
awful.
that.
It's
really?
awful.
Yeah.
It's fucking dreadful. And I like horror movies, but it was terrible.
And Laz says that he thinks Steve McMichael still has his restaurant in Romeoville. I will look into that, Laz, and if that's the case, I will definitely.
God, poor Monco.
Yeah. And he might even be there because I've heard that despite his illness, he still makes trips to his restaurant. He still makes trips outside. So if that restaurant is open and we can fit it into a schedule, because it's a little bit of a drive from Arlington Heights, I would love to go there myself and take you.
Well, what's by the stadium? Is there anything like novelty wise that's close? Like, well, we're leaving the game. Hopefully a Bears win. I don't know if you heard in the prediction, Waddle said on the audio that he predicts Fields' first start will be our game against the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
So, but is there anything that's like, oh, let's leave Soldier Field and go here?
Well, the souvenir shop at Soldier Field is probably the best souvenir shop in Chicago that I can think of.
Well, good. I want to check that for sure. Being just comparing it to the Reds again, because I used to go to the Reds games, not all the time, but a lot. The Reds gift shop was kind of shitty. Like like I'm big, I guess I'm 6'5" and 300 pounds. So I need a 2X or a 3X, and I always had to order that kind of stuff online.
Right.
Through the Reds. I hope the Bears have some real gear there for like other people, and it's not just all Phil size.
Yeah. We're not picking on Phil.
No. I'm just saying Phil, is the guy that he's just a guy that wears large is all I'm saying. That's not an insult.
No, I thought he wore small. Just kidding.
I'm not mocking Phil at all in that regard. I swear on my mom's grave. I'm just saying we're just two different body types. That's all I'm saying. But everything kind of caters to someone that wears like a large or an extra large. I mean, some of us are linemen out here,
Mm-hmm. Taurine Whitfield asks, the owners made a decision on the Arlington race property. No, that still is out for bidding, I believe. I think they're still looking at over the bids that they received. So, and that's not far at all from my house. So we will definitely go by the Arlington Park racetrack. Dan, so you can take a look at where the Bears could potentially be building their next stadium. You know, Virginia McCaskey was at that Los Angeles Rams stadium, and a lot of people were a little bit surprised that a woman of her age made that long trip. But I believe that the reason they did that is because the family is talking to Virginia about it's time to leave Soldier Field. Yeah, yes, we know, Virginia, that you love the team being in Chicago because your dad wanted the team to stay in Chicago. But take a look at this stadium. This is what the NFL is all about. There's another one of these in this city. There's another one of these in this city. There's another one of these. In order to make,
can't you make a stadium like that in Chicago? I mean, Chicago's the third biggest market in the fucking country.
The price that it would take to build a stadium in the city of Chicago would be probably easily 2 times the amount that it would take in Arlington Heights because of union, because of real estate, blah, blah, blah.
Get it done. You could have Super Bowls, NCAA tournaments.
Well, why can't you have it in Arlington Heights? It's a 10-minute drive from the airport. And so I think that's the kind of the reality, just politics, unions, and location.
Because
and so
it's Chicago, man.
Joe Mandel, Joey.
But then again, New York doesn't have a team either.
That's right. That's right. I don't care where they play.
New York has 2 teams in New Jersey.
Yeah. Listen,
Washington D.C. has the football team, but they play in Maryland.
Yeah. Joe says Arlington Heights would be so much better, and it would. I mean, you know. This is gonna be your first game at Soldier Field, correct?
Yes. I've only seen them on the road.
Be prepared for fucking a horrendous exit from that stadium. They funnel 60-some thousand people into 2 pathways, and it's just like the fucking exodus of refugees leaving. It's not fun. The end of the game and leaving Soldier Field. That's why I like to stay in the stadium as long as possible until the ushers are saying, you need to get the fuck out, so that I can avoid that crunch of shoulder to shoulder, COVID breathing people all over me. So that's not going to be fun. I'll let you know that.
That's fine. Usually when I'm leaving a road game, we're always fucking jeered because the Bears have just been beaten. And I'm just getting shit thrown at me or talked to me by the city of the other team. So if everyone's leaving as Bear fans, then fine, especially if the Bears win. Would be great just to be going out with other Bears fans with a fucking win finally. I've never been at a Bears game where they won. Never, not once. And they've had 3 17-3 leads in games I've been at and blew all of them.
That means that we could be doing a show with the Bears being 0-4, thanks to you, in part.
Man, if the Bears lose to Cincinnati and drop to 0-2, we're in trouble. I mean, for real.
No,
because Cleveland on paper, that's going to be an upset to win that one. So if you're 0-3, then anything can happen when you play the Lions. I mean, just fuck, man. The question is, if the Bears would start out something like 0-4, could we get rid of this bald fuck as coach?
Yes.
In season.
No, it's not going to happen. It's definitely not going to. Bear Truth 9 says, damn, but given that record, do you really want to take Dan to these 2 games?
Well,
Dan, can you just send Brandy and you stay home?
I've never been to Chicago, and it's always been one of those things that I wanted to go to. Like I said, I always love the old stadium is the one I wish I could see, honestly. But I'm going to go. I mean, I'm coming.
Oh, so. You're definitely coming. And part of the thrill for me is to show you around Chicago and to find some of the spots that you really want to visit as a Bears fan. So we're going to make it really, really fun for you and for
it's
your
too
guest,
bad the
Brandon.
Cubs are out of it. I'd love to have gone to Wrigley too.
Oh, really?
I don't like the American League. I'm going to go with you the Sox game, but I just don't give a shit about American League baseball.
Joe,
and I'm going to pretend that I'm not going to just sit there with my arms folded. I'm going to be a good fan and root for the White Sox. I'm not going to be a detractor, but again, just know that I don't like American League baseball.
All right. Well, maybe you should just wait by the bar while we watch the baseball game.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to be like just a drag.
Well, how about this? Since Brandy is going to join us in Cleveland, how about she and I go to the baseball game and you stay in the hotel and jerk off?
If that's what you really want, then fine.
No, just kidding. By the way, that is the new news in our personal lives, is that Brandy now is going to join us in Cleveland. And so when Dan texted me with the news, yeah, Brandy's coming to us. And I said, oh, that's great. That's fantastic, because we've got a suite. So you guys will have your own individual rooms. You can fuck, you can do whatever you want.
That has nothing to do with sex or any of that other stuff. I mean, like I said, this is about the trip, man. This is about the Bears.
Yeah, it has nothing to do
truly
with sex.
is. And
yeah, right.
going to the Rock and Roll of Fame too. That's what this is about.
Right.
But she wants to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so it's cool. She'll tag along. But this isn't like.
Did you already buy a ticket to the Rock and Roll?
She bought her own ticket because I bought you mine and yours.
Okay. Because I was going to say, give her mine and then I'll sit out, because I got to do a show with Greg Gabriel. I got to figure out how the hell I'm going to do that. But never mind. I really want to go to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so I'll figure it out.
Yeah, what time's Greg supposed to go on?
He usually goes on at 2:00, which would be 3:00 Eastern time over there.
Well, we're supposed to go at 11 a.m. That's what time the ticket says.
Right. I realize that. So how much time will we spend in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I know we could spend
When I
hours.
was at the NFL Hall of Fame in Canton, it was a good 2 hours before I felt like I saw everything.
Joe is leading a petition in the chat room for me, you, and Brandy to have a three-way. What's going on here, Joe?
Oh my goodness gracious! I wonder what Mrs. Gandia says about that.
Yeah, she's already got the rolling pin out. Tooch is in the chat room. He says, when is Dan coming to Chicago? I may drive in to see him. Tooch, you got to come down here.
Come. It's the Detroit game, week 4.
That's right. The Detroit game.
And we can meet Joey 2 Scoops. Right?
Joey will be around. I'm sure we will meet with him too. So I'm in the process of setting that up. I'm gonna set up a huge meet and greet with Dan, and nobody will show up, which is typical of what happens in the world of Aldo Gandia. No, but
maybe we can meet Mike North. How about that?
Well, yeah, that was the other thing. There were a couple of people who were saying, geez, who was it that just the other day was saying, man, I would love to meet Dan. And if Mike could be there too, that would really be a dream come true. So I'm going to talk to Mike on Thursday when we do the Mike North Advantage right here in the Barroom Network at 9:30 a.m. Central. I'm going to talk to him before or after the show and ask him if he might save an hour or so for us to all get together. And, he lives way out in Huntley, which is a good drive. And so, he's at sort of my age where getting in the car and going for long drives, there's got to be some, a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for him. So maybe.
I know he's busy. And,
yeah.
But I'm just saying, if I meet somebody like Mike or even Dan Jiggets, like I'm pretty much not going to talk. Just let them talk, because
come on.
I have so much reverence for them and what their show. So
absolutely, that would be a blast. Let's see, we've got about an hour to go. Any more football that we need to talk about? Because there's so many things regarding the game Sunday that we haven't touched on, and also what we might be expecting from the Cincinnati Bengals. Did you see any of that Bengals game against the Vikings?
I watched some of it. This is the way I think, and maybe it's fucked up and like superstitious, but as soon as I saw the score, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I saw Minnesota was down. I forget, maybe like 7 or 10 points. It was something like 21-7.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I start watching it, Minnesota scores 10 points in within like 5 or 10 minutes of, not on the game clock, but in reality.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, fuck this. I'm not going to watch any more of this game. If I do, Minnesota's going to win. Everyone's blowing up my phone. You see what's going on with the Packers? No. If I watch that game, the Packers will win. I watched 0 plays from that game.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Denver and New York, because if I watched the Packers, they were going to win. And the same thing, I started like, well, what the fuck's going on with Detroit? Turn over there, and suddenly they're down 37-8 or something. And then I watch a few minutes of it, and now they're making a comeback. I'm like, oh my fucking God. So I went to the track. I walked 4, 5, 6 miles, whatever it was. and I checked my phone and saw that Minnesota had lost in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not watch it because otherwise the Bengals would have fucking lost.
Well, I got to tell you, first of all, the Vikings are bad. I mean, they are bad. At least they were in that game. And I think that their defense, which, everyone kind of expects a Mike Zimmer team to be defensively great, that defense doesn't scare me at all.
Don't say that. Don't say that. And then they pound us in the dirt and be like, oh, Aldo, don't forget week 1.
I mean, I gotta say what I see. So, but then that Cincinnati Bengals offensive line, oh my gosh, if Khalil Mack doesn't get a sack in this game, then it's time for pitchforks and fire, or whatever the fucking phrase is. It's time to really start questioning what the hell is going on, even if he's triple team. That offensive line against the Vikings, they were having all sorts of communication issues and so forth, to the point that it was so bad that it's something that can't be fixed in a week. I mean, if they come out Sunday against the Bears and that Bengals offensive line now is behaving and working as a unit after what I saw against the Vikings, then it's a fucking miracle, or the Bears defensive line just sucks. So that gives me hope that the Bears are going to have, and the Bears, by the way, are 3-point favorite, and you know how Vegas is. They know something that we don't.
Yeah, but you get 3 points for being home.
That is true.
So that's basically a pick 'em to them. They don't know.
That is true. By the way, Bear Truth 9 has an interesting question. He says, if the Bears continue to lose, do you see them before the trading deadline getting rid of players like Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, and even A-Rob? You want to feel that one?
I could see that because if a contender is going to give you something when you may just, I'm not advocating it.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it doesn't come to that point, but you could see that. I don't think anyone could afford to take Quinn or Mack off of our hands. Although they said it was reported that John Gruden tried to trade for him again and we weren't interested.
That's right.
I don't know. I just think we're probably stuck with the big contracts through the duration of the season. Although Allen Robinson, that does make a lot of sense if you could get something for him in the sense that you think that he's going to be gone. And if you're just going to run these bullshit like 6-yard outs and make him run shallow crosses, I'm sure he would like to go somewhere and get the fuck out of town too.
Here's the thing about trading A-Rob. He doesn't have a contract for next season. So that lessens his trade value, unless the team that you're making a trade with, you tell them, okay, try to work out a deal with him, a long-term contract extension, and then we'll talk trade. So that's the only possibility that happens. You're probably going to get a 4th or 3rd round draft pick for A-Rob if you're going to trade him on the current franchise tag, the $18 million. And there aren't a lot of teams that have that kind of cap space. So
it would have to be a team that's capable of winning the Super Bowl that maybe has lost a receiver.
Absolutely. And has the cap space. And if they can work out a long-term deal with A-Rob, then maybe you can get a 2nd round draft pick. But that's, if they can't, you'll be lucky to get a 4th round draft pick. So, and Khalil Mack, no one's going to take that contract. If they're watching the same tape that Dan and I and all of you see, they're going to see a guy who's on the downside of his career, and they might, I said the same thing about JJ Watt. Look at how much money they gave him. But we're talking about trading draft capital, not just signing a guy to a free agent contract. So,
do you think there's any chance the stuff we were saying, or that I was saying, that I think you were subtly agreeing with about Eddie Jackson could be true about Mack? You think Mack got paid and kind of got a little bit complacent?
Yeah, but you saw what he did in that 2018 season. I mean, with no practice at all, he had one of the greatest halves of football.
Where's that guy at? Yeah. I'd love to have him suit up Sunday.
I mean, that really was the greatest half of football I've ever seen of a Chicago Bear player. I would say I would have him on that short list of.
He looked like Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, that was fucking phenomenal what he did. And I was thinking, no wonder Phil and Shay made fun of me about that. But now, I don't think they're making fun of me or you.
Isn't it so Bears for us to get somebody like that, whether it's Julius Peppers or Jay Cutler and not be able to take advantage of it.
Oh, or bringing in a guy who is past the prime of his career or quickly approaching the past of his prime. I remember, I'm a big hockey fan, and the Chicago Blackhawks acquired Bobby Orr, who is arguably the greatest player of all time. But when they acquired him, he had no knees. And it's hard to play ice hockey if you have no knees. And so he played like 40 games and said, fuck it, I quit. I can't play anymore. And that's been the story in Chicago sports for so long, that they acquire these guys late in their career, and rarely do they acquire a player who is ascending. They typically acquire players who are at the peak or descending. And I think that's what we're seeing with Khalil Mack.
It seems over the years, this has happened so many times. What exactly happened in week 1? You know, you return the kickoff, get a great kickoff, whether it's Devin Hester, Cordero Patterson, whomever's back there, you know, Dennis Gentry, Willie Gault, get a big kick return. Offense goes down the field, 1st and goal, and they don't fucking get any points. And as soon as that happens, how many times, like during Favre's run, let's say 1st and goal for the Bears. Oh, Jim Miller fumbles at the goal line. Green Bay's got the ball at the half-yard line. Oh, is that Brett Favre to Robert Brooks? 99 yards, touchdown Packers. I mean, that kind of shit, like for them to not score after going straight down the field. And then I was about to say Detroit, the Rams with Stafford scoring effortlessly immediately. That is the most Bears thing I've ever seen.
You're absolutely right. In that Cooper Kupp, the touchdown where there was a 15-yard gap between him and
I had that in the audio there.
Yes. I mean, come on.
That was the most wide open a player's been in 3 years, according to Next Gen Stats.
Yes. That's what I heard. That's why I heard it on the show.
I mean, that is so. I don't think that happens to other teams. I really don't. Maybe I'm just feeling sorry for ourselves.
I don't think I've seen
Jacksonville may go 1-16 or whatever, but that shit won't happen to the Jaguars.
Bear Truth 9 just tweeted or just posted something in the chat room that has me upset. He is writing that A-Rob's agent sent out a tweet saying 16 more games. And I think his name is Brandon Parker. I got a message for Brandon Parker. Please don't do that. That's not right. Don't negotiate via social media. You should be talking,
because the Bears could tag him one more year.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we want A-Rob here. We want A-Rob to sign an extension. I like A-Rob. There was a comment that A-Rob is just a possession receiver. Well, guess what? Possession receivers are important. And the guy catches 100 passes a season. Come on, we need him. And but please, Brandon Parker, don't do that. Don't, A-Rob has learned his lesson. He sent out a tweet that basically expressing that he was unhappy with the contract, and then he kind of said, he didn't apologize, but he basically has been cool since then. I don't think the agent should be doing that either. He should be in a room with Ryan Pace and telling Ryan Pace, you fucking idiot. Don't you see what this guy can do? First of all, throw him the ball and more than you have, get a better coach, and put Justin Fields in, and then you'll really get a return on your investment for A-Rob. But don't be tweeting stuff like that. If that's true, and I have no reason to not believe Bear Truth 9, but it sometimes there's context missing with some of this stuff. I just don't like agents and anyone else doing stuff like that. It just feeds more fire into the bullshit that's going on with that whole contract negotiation. And fucking Bears, man. Never mind.
I was really surprised. I'm connecting this dot because when you talk about Robinson, it made me think of the play that Dalton forced the ball into him on 4th down when Kmet was open, and could have been an easy 1st down. But I was kind of surprised how little playing time Jimmy Graham got. Not to say that I don't agree with it, but if you're going to pay him X amount of money and he doesn't he's not going to start. Maybe you think Kmet's this or he's that. He's our draft pick. Okay. Then why did you keep Graham? I mean, you could maybe have cut him and kept Kyle Fuller.
Dan, you must have read my outline for the Bear debate show, because that's exactly a question I posed to John Buffone and Tyler Ellis. Cole Kmet had some like 50 snaps. Jimmy Graham had 19. Jesse James had 10. Cole Kmet played okay, but he had that costly false start penalty and he had a drop pass. And you're paying Jimmy Graham starting salary.
And he had a really Graham, sorry to step on you. Graham had a very impressive reception.
Indeed, a very important and needed reception at a critical time of the game. Absolutely. So why are you paying this guy $9-10 million, which is a starting salary for most tight ends, but you're playing him at a second string level? That doesn't make sense to me. Couldn't that money have been better used to, find some offensive line support, to sign a cornerback, to re-sign Kyle Fuller, to pay Kyle Fuller the $20 million?
It's like a small deal with the Broncos too.
Yeah, exactly. And Kyle Fuller was released because he didn't want to renegotiate with the Bears on the $20 million he was owed in 2021. Well, if you don't re-sign Jimmy Graham, then maybe you've got that $22 million to keep Kyle Fuller in. Not that I think Kyle Fuller is worth that amount of money, but the disparity between Kyle Fuller and the guy that's playing cornerback now at that other position opposite Jalen Johnson, who I thought had a good game, that's concerning to me. So I don't know.
And the nickel, and Shelley didn't even suit up. So, is Christian going to play? Is he the corner now moving forward?
That's another thing.
I would almost rather have Buster Screen back.
Yeah. So here's, and again, I'm giving away some of the Bear debate stuff, and I went on a rant. It's supposed to be those guys doing a rant, but I went on a rant saying, okay, so Duke Shelley is playing all your first string snaps in the preseason, right? You drop Christian, you drop him, and he goes through waivers.
And then he starts.
So what happens if he would have been? Yeah. What happens if he would have been claimed on waivers? So then you're going. It doesn't make sense. You should be looking forward. Okay, who are going to be our starters against the Rams? Well, Christian is a better matchup against their receivers than Duke Shelley. All right, so we should not put Christian on waivers then, right? Yeah, let's put him on. Let's take a chance. Fuck it. That's
Artie
ridiculous.
Burns as well.
That's fucking stupid. Ryan Pace does not know what he's doing. With each day that goes by, there's nothing plausible going on here. It would take an expert debater to convince me that Ryan Pace knows how to build a 53-man roster. I haven't seen it in his years here. I haven't seen it.
At this point, his drafts and his free agents and the team making the playoffs twice, true, but still the other seasons, not going too well. I think all that speaks for itself is my point.
Mm-hmm. Steven is asking about Jesse James. Did he even make it on the field? Yeah, he had about 9 or 10 snaps, so he did see some action. Oh, Lord. All right. There is one other thing I want to talk about, the Bengals game, or what was it? And then we can talk about a couple of other things. But I do believe, despite all this bullshit that we're talking about the Bears, all the complaining and stuff, I really do believe they're going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday. I just have to think that we're going to see more of Justin Fields. We're going to see more packages. One of the things that I was upset about in Sunday's game is you insert Justin Fields into the red zone offense, which in training camp he proved very proficient at. In that scrimmage versus the Dolphins, it was reported that he had 4 red zone touchdowns against the Dolphins, 3 of them passing, 1 of them running. They put him into the red zone, and he completes a pass that gets them a first down, I believe, or close to a first down, and then you take him out. And then Cole Kmet has the penalty, and then Andy Dalton throws the touchdown. You should have just kept in Justin Fields for that entire red zone package, because he can score at will. So when all those defensive backs on that third down play went back into the end zone to protect against the touchdown, what did Andy Dalton do? He forced it into coverage and an interception. What would Justin Fields have done? pretty likely he would have tucked it and ran. And with his running prowess, he probably would have scored a touchdown. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, probably. I would agree. The thing that pissed me off more than anything with Fields was the sequence where they brought him in and ran that fucking shovel pass that have been running seemingly every game since 2018 that never works. The one that used to be to Trey Burton every time they ran it.
Yes.
God, stop running that play. And then Fields runs that stupid ass shovel and then immediately he's taken out.
That's right.
What the fuck, man? Why do you insist on running that play?
Fuck it, they're gonna lose against the Bengals. No, what's your prediction on this Cincinnati game? What do you think?
I don't know. I have no idea at this point. I think I was thinking about this when I was at work last night working on that audio.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be redundant, but when I was here at the station mixing the audio that I was going to send to you today, I was like, man, when we went through that one show and we were predicting the schedule and the wins and losses, I was like, I'm fairly certain I picked the Rams to win and then the Bengals to lose, so the Bears would be 1-1. It's like, I think that's what I said. I was like, yeah, I think so. So maybe this is okay. This is what I thought. I don't remember though. But, I stress about it. 0-1 just makes everything more stressful.
Mm-hmm.
The fact I got to work all these fucking hours this week now, and even the game, like I got to work 4 p.m. Saturday to 8 a.m. Sunday Eastern, and then I'm going to get up at 1 p.m. Eastern, watch the game, and I've got someone staying over for me till 4:30 Eastern because I was like, if I can't watch the fucking game, I'm not doing this overtime shift. So now I got to go back in and do 4 to midnight after that. So basically, I get up, watch the game, and go straight back to work. And all of this is overtime. I don't even want to do it, but it's like one of those, like, we need you, Dan.
So Dan leaves me this 2-minute or so audio text message, explaining all this to me. And I'm like feeling really bad for the guy. They're fucking working him to death, which is what most employers do nowadays. They don't want to hire more people. They just want to, bleed to death the employees that they have. And so this is your 911, your 911 job. And so I respond saying, man, that sucks, dude. You should call 911. And so I'm expecting an LOL or anything. There's this long pause. And I'm thinking to myself, he probably didn't think that was funny.
I think I said, yeah, they're going to ride the horse until they have to put it down.
Hey, I want to talk some movies, and I'm going to invite somebody to join us. Let's see if he can join us here. Who do you think my surprise guest is going to be?
Let me think. Who's someone that we've never had before that would be fun? Is it someone we've had before?
Not on this show.
If it's someone that you were just asking about an email address, then we have had him on this show.
Okay. Have we had John Santucci on this show before?
We have, on one of the fun nights where we had everybody on. Aaron was on and Tooch. It was one of the shows like next week, by the way, where I don't have a curfew. I don't have to go to my other job next week.
Oh, nice.
So we can do like one of those marathon shows.
Oh,
that
good.
was we had Tooch on one of the marathon ones.
Okay. All right. Well, if we're going to do a marathon show next week, I'm going to talk to Vinny Parisi and ask him to join us because he's up till 3 or 4 o'clock every day. And I can't go that long because of obligations that I have, but you guys can talk for forever, but I can hang in as long as I can. That'll be a blast. Definitely.
Yeah. I look forward to it. I just got to get there. And hopefully the Bears will get there 1-1 because otherwise how long can you do a negative energy show? I mean, we could, in theory, do 5 hours on a Bengals loss and an 0-2, but I don't want to. I just want the Bears to be at 500.
But you make a good point. If the Bears have that negative energy, I do believe a lot of times, I keep hearing the word and seeing the word therapy. At the beginning of the show, people were saying time for therapy, and I've gotten messages. Thanks, for doing these shows on the drive to Chicago with all the traffic. It's like therapy and blah, blah, blah. So we better come up with something if the Bears are, because people depend on us. Oh my gosh, look at who is here. His name is Johnny Santucci.
Hey, hello, fellas.
Look at how good you look, man.
I'm in my Bears man cave.
I love it. Let me see if I can improve the shot here so that you're not looking so little, and we'll get rid of
It's like a king. I've got the
Whoa.
smaller throne. Aldo's got this bigger throne.
That's right. Let's see. John, what have you been up to, brother?
I started a network.
You did? Tell us about it.
Well, it's called Maximum Edge Sports and Entertainment. And I started it with one of my friends that I met just teaching me handicapping and things like that, So, and Aaron Mikulski, who, he wanted to have a network of his own as well. And then, of course, two young ladies, we all just decided to get together and put together a network, and we'll have a show called the Stream Team as well.
Stream Team, that sounds like fun.
Streaming today, and it's Sarah Mars and Megan O'Keefe, and Megan O'Keefe is the lead television critic Association of America for Decider.com, which is kind of like
that's nice.
Decider.
Yeah,
so she'll be.
I love that site.
And she's really smart, really funny. And Sarah, of course, is also a television critic, the Chicago Film and TV Critics Association. Aaron and myself, we're among royalty.
Excellent. But when do you do your shows?
Stream Team will probably be in November. We'll be talking Wheel of Time, which is the Neil Jordan fantasy epic Amazon Prime is doing, and that's starts in November. And then we've already started Maximum Edge Sports Wagering Show.
Hold on a second. Dan had to go take a piss. Can you hear him?
I can't.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
and we've just been releasing, talking about college and NFL football games before they start. Given our leans and tips. We did some college football games last week and NFL games. Gave out some great tips, some leans that hit. I think deep down we all knew the Bears would lose that game, although I locked in Rams -7 when it first came out.
Oh, you did?
And I max bet the Rams because I know my Bears. It was one of last weekend.
The Bengals game. Should I bet on the Bears to win? I want to because it makes it even more fun if they win, but I'm scared to. Tell me.
I've got to study that game a little bit more. I don't know what either of those teams are yet. I've really got to look at it hard. The Bears aren't in the same class as the Rams. This is the Rams are a team that have a good shot to go to the Super Bowl. They're loaded on the offensive position. Their defense is pretty good. You saw that Tampa 2 defense being run all night long, and Bears, all they could do, was dink and dunk. But, after 4 years of Matt Nagy, our rewards were dink and dunk. Aldo. but bottom line is the Bears are in a division where 9-8 or 8-9 could win that division. So I'm not going to say they don't have a chance.
Right.
They do. I mean, you saw the Packers got blown out by the Saints. The Lions not much better, and the Vikings, they made it close against the Bengals, but it's a little early to tell what the NFC North is really going to be.
It was fascinating listening to the network TV sports programs, and almost everybody was saying the NFC North is the worst division in football. It's like,
it might be. The AFC South might say, hold my beer, though.
I agree with you. I think it's a little early to make that proclamation. I mean, you could say it looked like they might be, but to make that proclamation, I mean, I got to believe, in my heart of hearts, I got to believe the Bears are going to play better football. The Packers are going to play better. They're not that team that was at New Orleans. If they continue to play at that level, that will be the biggest story in the NFL, because that's just a huge drop. The NFL MVP quarterback from a year ago, a division winning team, so for so many consecutive years and so forth. They're gonna bounce back and they'll win, more than they'll lose. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that was probably the most shocking game of the weekend. Was the Packers only putting up 3 points? With Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, a lot of good talent offensively. I wonder how much of that drama that's in the Green Bay front office has taken its toll, in the early part of the season here for the Packers. I don't know. I mean, the Bears have drama of their own.
Yes. But the drama that the Packers faced was much worse, I think, than any other team in the NFL, with the exception of the Houston Texans.
For sure. Yep.
You have basically your star player, one of the best players in the NFL, basically having a hissy fit with the team and trolling them, wearing these stupid T-shirts and sending out these social media messages and all these cryptic messages and saying, I never want to play with them again. It was so stupid. That was, I thought, what we saw against the New Orleans was the fucking effect of Rodgers' behavior.
Yeah.
Plus some other things, but that was primarily it. You agree with that, right?
Yeah, I do. And, who would have thought before the game we'd see Aaron Rodgers benched? Right? I never would have expected that. I bet the over in that game, I'm thinking that the Packers would at least put up some points. I knew the Saints would score too.
Mm-hmm.
That seemed like a really I made two of the easiest bets I've ever made in my life last weekend. One was the Rams, and the other was Iowa Hawkeyes +5.
Oh, good for you.
I live in Iowa, so I know these two teams. Ames, Iowa's about 30 minutes from here.
Yeah.
Should not be in the top 25, and the Cy-Hawk Bowl, which is what they call this intense rivalry, and the whole weekend here in Iowa, Iowans are getting ready for this game. They're flying their colors, they're riding around with their little flags on the cars, the shirts, everything. I kind of forgot that I was supposed to put on something. I don't really care. I was a Hawkeye fan for that day, but a lot of those games decided by 3 to 5 points. You're giving me Iowa +5; it's a no-brainer. Yeah, I max bet that too.
Yeah, what's interesting, John, is you make a really good point, and it's one in Mike North, our gambling expert, world-class handicapper. He will advise people not to necessarily bet on the home team. But my feeling is that this is the team that I know best. It doesn't mean that I'm going to bet for them. I won a lot of money betting against the Cubs. When they started to show signs of a losing streak and they were still favored, they went through that great start at the start of this baseball season. And I said, I don't think this team has it. And so I started betting on them. And then I started betting on the White Sox to win. I made a lot of fucking money, hundreds of dollars that I have since lost.
And after the Cubs traded away the heart of their team, they started to win again.
Mm-hmm.
I had all the Des Moines Cubs there, Frank Schwindel and some of these other guys, the pitchers and stuff, guys that I watched right down here in Des Moines at the ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
Now as far as like the wagering show, I think Uncle Mike would agree that sometimes the best bet you make is the bet you don't make.
Absolutely. Yes.
Did I hate betting against the Bears? Yeah. I want to root for my team. That's my team. Mm-hmm. But I knew they were going to lose the game. There was a lot of positive things that we saw with that game. They like I said, they could win the division with an 8-9 record. They were able to move the ball. The opening drive, Dalton moved the team all the way down the field, but for some reason, Nagy took him out and lost all the momentum, put Fields in. Next thing the play came in, Dalton threw an interception.
I saw that you made that point, but I'm kind of the opposite thinking here, because I really wanted Justin Fields to have that whole entire red zone experience, and I think that he would have got the team in. Now, Dalton,
he got one pass, right?
Yeah, right.
He got one pass.
But remember, how the Bears started that game. Tremendous kickoff return by Khalil Herbert. He looked like the second coming of Cordero Patterson, and I was like so ecstatic. And then I think they completed a pass, but then you had that David Montgomery 40-yard run. So that's not necessarily Dalton. It was just some good special teams play and great running by David Montgomery. So it wasn't necessarily that Andy Dalton drove them there. So now they put in Justin Fields, and I'm thinking to myself, please keep him in for the entire series. That way he gets that little rhythm. It's proven that he was very good at this in camp and so forth. Give it to him. Oh, one play and they gone.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's Matt Nagy. He doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, how many pass plays were just curl routes? You know, he didn't send anybody downfield.
Yep.
You know, you built a team with a lot of speed. Marquise Goodwin and Darnell Mooney. I forget the other new guys that's there. Brashad Perriman, I think his name is. Those guys are all 4.3 guys.
What's his first name? Bird.
Demir Bird. Yeah, they're all fast, but we're just using them to run 10-yard routes.
It didn't make any sense at all.
Andy Dalton didn't really play badly. You know, I'll tell you, if I would have known before the game that Justin Fields was starting at quarterback, I might have thought twice about betting this game because I don't know what Justin Fields really is yet. I know what Andy Dalton is. We've seen him for years with the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. We saw him last year with the Cowboys. He wasn't that good. You know, he's Cap Rooney and Justin Fields is Willie Beeman. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what you got. You know, I mean, they're giving Justin Fields small bites of the apple. It might be a wormy Nagy apple, does that make any sense? A wormy Nagy apple, but he's getting some NFL bites. But I mean, I'm at the point, Aldo, where you and I have seen this you and I have been Bears fans for 40, 50 years, and we've seen all this before. And you and I are probably resigned to the fact that, hey, why don't we just get rid of some of these older players? You know, this window probably isn't going to stay open if there even is a window. And let's just try and build a new window. You know, let's put Kmet and Fields out there and all these guys. I don't think I know Dan's like you'd like to trade some of these guys for draft picks, and you don't like trading away draft picks. I don't like trading away draft picks. I wouldn't have traded for Khalil Mack. I like building through the draft. I like starting, building a nucleus, building through the trenches, get some offensive line. Ryan Pace doesn't draft offensive linemen all that often. He drafted one high, and that guy ended up having a bad back. His back's as bad as mine, Aldo.
Well, but he also drafted Cody Whitehair. Yeah, that was a good selection.
It was a third-round pick, I think, for Whitehair.
Cody and James Daniels
second
rounders.
Second rounders.
So I give that to him, but still, you can't when you're talking about drafting tackles. Yeah, Tevin Jenkins was the only one in his tenure with the Chicago Bears that he drafted highly.
And I'm not sure the other tackle is not the better player, Larry Borum.
Yeah,
that guy's an animal.
Yeah,
I really like his game. I don't know enough about Tevin Jenkins. I've heard he's pretty good too. James Daniels, Bear Truth 9, very good. Played 2 hours from me here in University of Iowa. So
what a huge ass James Daniels has.
He does. Very large butt
too. By the way, Dan, do you have a huge ass? I can't wait to see it in Cleveland.
I do not. I have a small ass. It's unfortunately hairy too.
I'm talking to the wife about driving out, Danny, when you're in Chicago. It's a 5-hour drive for me, but
it's fucking 9 hours and 50 minutes according to Google. My house now.
All right, so I shouldn't complain much.
Awesome. Can't wait to see you guys.
But talking about offensive tackles, I think we're in a little bit of trouble now with the injuries. You've lost Tevin Jenkins, you may have lost Larry Borum and Jason Peters. Mm-hmm. So I mean, this offensive unit was pretty thin to begin with. We had to sign a 39-year-old guy off the streets. That's how thin it was.
It's embarrassing. I said that earlier in the show that Ryan Pace admitted we were very fortunate to find Justin Peters, such a player of his caliber.
Where were they looking, though?
Yeah, right.
It can't be hard to find.
Yeah, you're such a player of his caliber. He's 39 years old. He was fishing. He was ready to hang it up because nobody else would call him.
He made a couple nice blocks, though. I will tell you that.
He did, but there was also a couple times where he was totally demolished. There was one play where he got knocked. He was pancaked. No, he didn't. He was pancaked. And there was another one where his and I went back and looked at a couple of the games from his play last season with the Philadelphia Eagles. His biggest problems is getting out to that second level.
Yeah.
So when you hit somebody at the offensive line, a guard or a tackle, and then you get out to the second level, he usually just whiffs. And that was part of being old and weather beaten by the NFL. Dan, what do you got for Mr. Johnny Santucci before I bring up the topic of Jack Nicholson movies? And I'll explain that more in a second. But what do you got for John in terms of questions about football?
Well, I just got back from taking a leak there.
That was one hell of a long trip.
Well, no, the guy that I work with, whose dad died, was here. So,
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard not to give your, condolences.
Absolutely.
I've come around to Danny's way of thinking, like Khalil Mack and Eddie Jackson, and they're incognito. They're just not making the impact play. For the money that they're making, they're not making the plays.
And no one ever calls them out except me, honestly, until now. Other people are rallying around my opinion. But I felt like I was like the one guy that was willing to say it. Everyone else was just calling me an idiot and like stoning me to death for it. But I think it's been apparent since late 2018. Like the last great game he had was the game that you all were at when we beat Green Bay and won the division, when he had the backwards sack.
Yeah.
That's the last game that I was like, man, Mac was getting it done. That was almost 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Yes, you're right. All right. I want to talk about Jack Nicholson, but also somebody who's very, very important to you, Dan. And it was just mentioned in the chat room. Rest in peace, Norm Macdonald. Before Dan talks about Norm, John, let me ask you, were you a Norm Macdonald fan?
Oh, absolutely. That was the golden years of Saturday Night Live for me when I was in college, and shortly after college, that was one of probably the best gang of cast members. Those are probably my favorite ones. I was just a kid with Belushi and Aykroyd. I was 7 years old. So
that was before my time. For me, my SNL wheelhouse, just looking at Weekend Update, was Dennis Miller, Kevin Nealon, and Norm Macdonald. After Norm got squeezed out, I kind of checked out on the show. Occasionally I would watch it, Tina Fey's mocking Sarah Palin. Okay, I'll watch it, but you betcha. But for the most part, I haven't really I watched Eddie Murphy when he came back. I watched Dave Chappelle this past November, but for the most part, it's just occasionally with a host. I watched it religiously. Like I said to you earlier, Aldo, I have every Weekend Update that Norm ever did. I taped every episode, and I made a DVD compilation about 10 years ago for my friend who I'm still trying to become friends with again, the wrestler I was telling you about, Daniel Harnsberger, aka Dan Richards, the progressive liberal, but I made him every Weekend Update for Norm for Christmas one year, and then I made him a supplemental, like my favorite Norm sketches. So it was like 20 DVDs or something. But yeah, he loved it. So he and I both love Norm Macdonald. That was my favorite Weekend Update guy, my favorite cast member ever.
Yep.
Yeah, he's up there for me too. I love his delivery. He had the best delivery of any of the SNL cast members.
Yeah, let's listen to a little bit of Norm Macdonald doing Weekend Update.
Hi, I'm Norm Macdonald, and this is the news. Potential jurors for the O.J. Simpson case were asked to fill out a 75-page jury questionnaire this week. In the entire state of California, only one person got a perfect score, Xiao Ming Wu, who after the trial plans to attend Caltech. 4 Pittsburgh children were found in a house strewn with garbage and human waste after they'd been abandoned by their parents for 2 weeks. The couple was charged with child endangerment, but to their credit, they did bring the children a present. A T-shirt that reads, "My parents left me for 2 weeks in a house full of human waste, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt."
We'll get one more in here.
Tourism in India has taken a dramatic drop recently. The State Bureau of Tourism has 2 theories. One, airfares have gone up slightly in the past year, causing a decrease in travel worldwide. And 2, the plague.
What a taste of Norm Macdonald there.
Earlier, I see the one about the pedophile thing with Michael Jackson.
I love that one.
Yeah, he was like, surprisingly, Michael Jackson and the King, Elvis's daughter, they've broken up, and people say that she's kind of a stay-at-home type, whereas he, conversely, is a more of a homosexual pedophile type.
That's great.
So great. The next joke after that was so good too, because I had put in the DVD. He was talking about President Clinton's getting ready for the State of the Union, and it will be filled with a bunch of lies because Hillary has demanded it. And Hillary is a liar. He's like, she loves to lie, the first lady. It's so poignant now.
Yeah, really. Brian, you're absolutely right about Richard Pryor. He's a great talk. Well, we'll devote some time to Richard Pryor in the future because he deserves a good half hour.
Did you see? I think we've talked about this where Pryor's widow said that he and Marlon Brando used to suck each other's dicks.
Yes, we did talk about that, and I was shocked by it, but perhaps I shouldn't be. You ever suck anybody's dick, John?
Nope.
You know, Brandy's
He
listening.
didn't say no. Did you notice that?
Hey, if Brandy's still listening, she loves to watch guys suck each other's dicks in porn.
Don't say that.
She said her favorite thing is to watch
All those having second thoughts about Cleveland.
perform a fellatio action on a Caucasian man.
Dan, have you been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Dan?
I haven't. I've been to the NFL one, but not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so I'm really excited.
The best museum in the world, man. The best.
Well, Aldo and I are going to go, and I assume Brandy as well, because we can walk to it from the hotel.
You know what?
It's a nice little small downtown area you can walk around and stuff too. If you get a chance, there's the West Side Market.
$200 to park.
Yeah.
Yeah, the parking is ridiculous. By the way, Ravi says I'm going to be in Cleveland with one eye open. No, Ravi, both eyes open, 24 hours. You know what's funny, Dad, is this morning I'm taking a shower and I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't it be weird in Cleveland if I'm taking a shower and all of a sudden Dan and Brandy walk in and say, hey, come on, let's take a shower together.
Those hotel rooms, those doors have locks, I think, Aldo.
Yes, well, I'm going to bring my own locks just in case.
Let's just hope that's not going to happen. Well, let's just hope you don't take a shit that floods the bathroom.
That's right. That's a story for another day. Brandy is in the chat room. She says, Dan, telling all my secrets. LOL. Well, I'm going to learn more about your secrets, Brandy, once we get rid of Dan.
Her secrets and her fantasies are great. Just as long as it don't involve me in that area.
Tell Brandy to give me a ring if she's in Des Moines. Never.
Or he's trying to say he's going to suck some dick for her.
Chubb says Dan and Aldo are going to bring a whole new meaning to Cleveland sucks.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I like that, Chubbs. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's an excellent one. All right, guys, we've only got about 15 minutes before Dan has to go, and I got to go. I got more work to do on another show after this, so 15 minutes. Let's devote it to Jack Nicholson because I saw this tweet today, and I thought it was great. Perhaps this was trending or not, but Mama Bear, who's a great follow on Twitter, follow her at MyBears2. She says, my favorite Jack Nicholson characters, the Joker in Batman, Jack Torrance in Shining, Will Randall in Wolf, Gregory Hansen in Easy Rider, Randall McMurphy in Cuckoo's Nest, Daryl Van Horn in Witches of Eastwick, Budowski in The Last Detail, and Charlie Paratana in Prizzy's Honor.
All of those are her favorites?
All of those are
That's
favorites.
A lot of favorites.
Yeah, well, I'm the same way. I don't have one single favorite. I love to have multiple favorites, but that's a great list. And there's so many other great performances that he's had. What say you, Dan Aguirre, in terms of favorite Jack Nicholson roles? Or if you're not ready to go, turn it over to
I can go. I love Nicholson. I think he was great in The Shining. That's my favorite Jack Nicholson film easily, or Kubrick or whatever. But I love him as Jack Torrance, even though Stephen King wanted Christopher Reeve and thought that he was too predictable, that everyone could see it, that he was going to go crazy based upon his performance in Cuckoo's Nest. I take a little bit of umbrage with that. I thought he was pretty fucking awesome. I don't know why Stephen King hated The Shining so much. But beyond that, I really like that Western I told you about with he and Marlon Brando.
Missouri Breaks.
Yeah, I don't even like Westerns, and I really enjoyed that. Let's see, what else with Nicholson?
Well, let me.
The Witches of Eastwick were good. It was good. Last Detail,
That would not have been. Witches of Eastwick would not have been on my top 10 list. Last Detail, yes, but here's one that I'm surprised anyone would leave out, and that's A Few Good Men.
I could go without that.
What?
Just so whatever. I mean, it's okay, but
it's an
just
iconic
so typical
performance.
It's so typical. It's just it's just one of those. It's like a comic book movie, It's just like it's safe for family consumption,
No fucking.
There's
way.
nothing daring about A Few Good Men. It's just so the military guy says you can't handle the truth. I mean, okay, I can't.
No, you're missing it. But Tooch, save me here. Do you like his performance in A Few Good Men?
No, he's good.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. So it's great Jack Nicholson performances. Favorite?
Oh yeah, Jack is Jack. I mean, I just think that the film is average.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Nicholson is always like, I can't think of anything where I was like, man, I tell you that movie would have been better if they didn't have Jack Nicholson. I mean, to me, like Chinatown is like, without Nicholson, like I don't think I would like it. I didn't really care for Easy Rider. I watched a movie recently that I told you about that I like called 5 Easy Pieces, where he was really good. And I liked Carnal Knowledge a whole lot with he and the guy from not Simon, but Garfunkel. Garfunkel's in another good movie I watched recently, a dirty sex film.
Portnoy's Complaint, is it?
What's the name of it? It's from 1980, where he's it's got Harvey Keitel in it. It's excellent. Who knew that Garfunkel made dark fucking movies?
Yeah,
but he did.
He's not a bad actor. Yeah. What do you like from?
Yeah, but Carnal.
Tooch, what do you like from Nicholson?
I think his best movie was his last movie. I mean, the highest rated movies on IMDb of Nicholson are Chinatown and The Departed. That was the only one of his movies that scored over 8. But The Departed, probably one of my all-time favorite movies.
Great film.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about Nicholson's actual performances in these movies. And so, I mean,
it was great in terms of endearment.
Yeah,
how about that?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Where he was not, in terms of screen time, he probably was 3rd or 4th behind Jeff Daniels, Shirley MacLaine, and Deborah Winger. But
I fucking cried on the sequel when Shirley MacLaine dies.
Yeah.
Was it called The Evening Star?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, where they're showing like all of the things that she's doing, and then it like if she's walking on a beach and then it suddenly turns into a photo and it's like 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they're going through the last years of her life and then they turn to photos and then she dies. Fuck, I cried on that for like 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Gary says that A Few Good Men was a good movie and the nickname of our new defense.
That's
very true.
Only a few.
Yeah. I had to, when you guys said you wanted to talk Jack Nicholson, I had to look and see if he passed away today. I was like,
yeah, I was wondering too. Why was he trending? I don't know. Somebody came up with something and it just went viral. Chubbs is asking, Aldo, name off a movie and see if Dan says I didn't like it. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, Chubbs, but I'm sure that Dan would not have liked it if I liked it.
That's not true. What about Chinatown? Chinatown, I think was.
I love Chinatown. One of the best.
Great movie.
And I think it would have been great even without Jack Nicholson, depending on who would have had that role.
Okay, Randy Quaid as the main character.
Wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have worked. Yeah.
I mean, Nicholson makes the film, I think. And Faye Dunaway is a really, really good-looking lady.
Yes.
So that helps to it as well, even though was miserable during the performance.
I think Randy Quaid joined a tribe of Bigfoots up there in British Columbia.
Carnal Knowledge was the Jack Nicholson movie that I was thinking of, where it's a very sexy movie.
It's excellent. Yeah, you got a very, very young the lady that played Murphy Brown was really young in it.
Yeah. What's her name? I forgot. But nonetheless,
Candice Bergen. Candice
Bergen, and you had Anne Margaret in it.
Margaret. Oh my gosh, it's a great scene with her being up against a wall. It's just a great scene. Highly
That's
recommend.
a great film.
Yeah.
Great film.
All right, so let me name some other Nicholson movies, and you guys can chime in and share your opinion on it. Did you ever see Tommy, the rock opera based on The Who? He plays the doctor in one scene where he's romancing the Anne Margaret character. Tucci, you're nodding yes. What did you think of Jack Nicholson in that movie?
Over the top, but this is a movie my mom took me to see when I was 9.
Oh,
she was so disgusted by the film, she picked up me and all my friends and walked us out of the movie theater. There was the hypodermic chamber and the toilet seat covered in nails and the bath of Heinz baked beans.
You have to be high to watch that movie, and you have to be really high to appreciate it.
And me, I was just a Who fan. I love Pinball Wizard, the song. It was like one of my favorite songs.
Absolutely. Dan, did you ever see Tommy?
I did not. I know I'm familiar with the premise. I didn't watch it.
All right, I got the DVD for you when you get into town. What about Nicholson and Hoffa as Jimmy Hoffa?
Yes, I did see Hoffa.
And
Danny DeVito's in it as well.
That's right. And what do you think of this performance?
Best film. It's okay. Like I thought Al Pacino's Hoffa was much better in the Phasing film.
Mm-hmm. What about As Good as It Gets? Vince is feeding me all these great movie titles.
As Good as It Gets was okay. It wasn't as good as it gets for Nicholson, but he did. I think he won an Academy Award for that, though.
Yeah, I thought he was great in the movie. The story was all right, but
Melvin Udall.
Oh,
wasn't that his character's name?
That's right. Very good. He just plays this kind of paranoid guy, germaphobe, and he's just an irritable guy, and unlikely.
He was a romance novel writer. The most unlikely romance novel writer you'd ever come across.
That's right.
Because he was cranky old man.
Nicholson was in a hot tub, and we got to see Kathy Bates's full bush when she's trying to fuck Nicholson, and he's like repulsed. It's called About Schmidt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, About Schmidt. Yeah.
Yes. I did not like that movie, even though the critics loved it, and so I gave it a shot and just couldn't get into it. But I do remember her bush in that movie. It's hard to forget.
I usually like pubertarian ladies, but not Kathy Bates. I wanted to see the one that was named out. The Monopoly game was named after, at least the Marvin Gardens.
Yeah.
King of Marvin Gardens, Bruce Dern and Jack Nicholson. Yeah, Jack Nicholson is a DJ. And Bruce Dern is his brother who's got this crazy get-rich scheme. They end up with the mob after him and stuff. The King of Marvin Gardens. 1972.
Batman Crothers, the guy that gets killed in The Shining by Nicholson, is also in it.
I love him.
I want to see that film. I've never seen it. I wish TCM would show that.
All right. Well, we'll be looking for that one if it appears. What about when he played President James Dale in Mars Attack?
I didn't watch that.
What's wrong with you, Dan?
I don't like kids' movies.
Come on.
It really wasn't a kids' movie, but it was annoying as hell.
Really, we found it annoying. I thought it was kind of clever and fun.
Yeah, I mean it was funny, but the aliens were dicks.
What about the Two Jakes?
The Two Jakes, the sequel to Chinatown.
Yeah, sequel to Chinatown, also good. Yeah,
I was too high when I saw it and fell asleep in the middle of it, so I can't really comment.
That wasn't Roman Polanski too, though. Was the Two Jakes?
I think so.
I don't think it was either.
The scriptwriter Robert Town. He was
the director. Okay. Roman Polanski's no longer allowed in the country.
That's right.
For viewers.
He sodomized a 12-year-old and got her drunk, allegedly.
Travis.
Well, we don't even have to say allegedly, right? He was convicted.
He was convicted.
He was convicted in absentia. Yep.
Right.
There's so many people that defend him for that. I don't understand why.
Yeah. Well, I think now.
You mean other pedophiles?
No, like other actors and stuff will be like, well, I don't know if that's real. I mean, he sodomized a drunken 12-year-old.
That's right. I think.
Imagine if that was your daughter.
What was it? Was it Whoopi Goldberg that said, well, it wasn't rape? It wasn't rape. It was.
Yeah, because the 12-year-old can consent when she's full of booze and taking a dick up the ass.
Gary has the quote of the day. from Mars Attack.
Attacks.
I love it, Gary. Well done.
I thought you were doing Gary from Howard Stern.
Those are the creatures from Mars Attack. They were great. The green little things.
Yeah, the animation was fantastic.
It was fantastic. And when they get shot, all this goo splats all over. It was great film. Great fun. Another movie you got to watch with a couple of gummy bears in your pocket.
What about Wolf? He was with Michelle Pfeiffer in that. That was okay.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. You know, the idea.
Postman always rings twice. Another good one if you get a chance.
Yeah, that's not as good as
Jessica Lange and
right, but
what
it
about
is a
the
good
crossing guard where he tells Angelica Houston he hopes she dies in fucking hell or something? they're eating in a restaurant and she's supposed to be his ex-wife.
Right.
And he's like, I hope you perish and die in hell, you whore.
Didn't they had a thing though? Him and Angelica Houston, they were a couple for a while, I think, right?
For many years, yes.
Okay.
He was fucking the girl for Twin Peaks for a really long time.
Yeah, Laura Flynn Boyle.
Oh, she's a gorgeous woman, yes. Gorgeous woman. And then one other movie I wanted to bring up. He played a television anchorman in the movie Broadcast News with Holly Hunter.
Yeah, that was good. We talked about that recently.
Yeah, not a bad film. I didn't particularly like him so much in that movie. I thought, he didn't have the what's the word? Charm of a network.
Well, they didn't even mention him in the credits, so I mean, you knew it was Nicholson as soon as you saw it.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. But he just didn't have that charm of a major television network anchorman. The performance was just okay. Vince again coming to the rescue with another title, Going South. Did you ever see that one?
I did not. That's another Western.
That's the crazy Western, yeah.
Kind of a comedy.
There's another one too. Missouri Breaks is another Western he was in also.
I like that one.
Yeah, with Marlon Brando. I got it recorded.
Marlon Brando was like a crazy, eccentric, cross-dressing, strange gun mercenary or bounty hunter. Yeah, it was a bounty hunter.
Yeah, he's like Irish or Scottish or some shit. He's got a weird accent, but I like it.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, it's tremendous stuff. Dan, I think you've got to go to work. I've got to go to work, and Tucci's got to go to sleep because he's got to go to work in the morning. So why don't we just go around the table and get some final thoughts here, whether it's on whatever topic you want, or you want to shout somebody out or whatever. Dan, let's go with you first because I know you got to hit the road.
Well, I just hope that this time next week we have a fun show that won't be time constraints, like I said, and hopefully we'll all be happy with a 1-1 record. Because, like I said, my week is just going to be really long and excruciating, and it'll all be worth it if the Bears can get a victory. Then I have to go straight to work as soon as it's over again. But all that will be worth it if we're 1-1. But if we're here after all that and we're 0-2, it just compounds everything. It makes everything worse. It's funny how that is. Like, you can go through a terrible week, somebody dies, but if your team wins, it kind of makes it less, difficult or something. Maybe it's all psychological nonsense, but I just think it'll make me much happier if they win. So please let them win. Don't lose to the Bengals. We've lost a couple of games to the Bengals. Remember 2005, they came into Soldier Field and Chad Johnson just lit us up.
I was at that game, and Chad Johnson was making all these stupid dances after scoring touchdowns.
The river dance thing. Yeah. And then in 2009, we go to Cincinnati, and Cedric Benson runs for like 330 yards. Not literally, but over 200. We did beat them on opening day in 2013 with Cuddy, and we beat them recently. We're not opening day. Was that opening? Yeah, no. It was opening day.
Was it opening?
And then
I thought it was
week 2, we beat Minnesota in the rain.
Okay.
At Soldier Field, we're 2-0, and then actually we're 3-0, right? Because they beat Pittsburgh on Sunday night, and then anyway, they ended up not making the playoffs because of Rodgers and Chris Conte. Let's not talk about that as I leave. Cincinnati, and then in 2017 was an interesting game. We went out there and won on the road. Adam Shaheen caught a touchdown and got injured, of course, on his touchdown reception.
That's right. He's on the injured list now for the Dolphins, by the way. So
I think he's always got COVID, which is ironic because he swore that it was a liberal hoax. But we've won the last 2 then against Cincinnati. Let's make it 3 in a row for the love of God, and hopefully we can meet all 3 of us really soon. Now, obviously, Aldo and I will meet in Cleveland, but hopefully, Tooch, I can meet you as well in Chicago.
Yeah, I would like to make I need to go out there. I got to tie some things up back home. I still have a condo in Chicagoland area, even though I live in Iowa. But I have a real estate agent who's put it on the market for me. I have to go in there and check some stuff out on the old condo. Aldo's been over there to that neighborhood. He used to live over nearby there.
Schaumburg.
Yep, in Schaumburg.
And, I got to go.
All right,
yeah.
Talk with you.
All right, brother. Take care.
I will make every effort to come and give you a big hug, Danny.
You be well, and hopefully we'll talk to you next week.
Right on. Yeah, and I before I bolt out of here and let you go back to where I got work to do too as well before I log in. That's my job makes me do all this crazy stuff just for benefits. I've got to do compliance training, and then there's wellness stuff. I've got to prove that I am losing weight, which is great. I'm on the keto diet.
Oh, good for
I'm
you.
like down 20 pounds.
Nice.
I still have this giant head, but
that's never going to change. You'll be 150 pounds, and 60 of it will be your head.
Right. But yeah, like I said, I have a network, Maximum Edge Sports Wagering, and when states made mobile sports gambling legal in January 1st, 2021, I got into it. I'd always liked to predict games and handicap games and riding the wave and enjoying. If you want tips and enjoy talking sports, tune in. Other than that, wait until Wheel of Time comes out and you can hear me and the gals and Aaron talk Wheel of Time, the 15-book fantasy novel series. I read all of them.
You read? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like 1,000,000 some words. But yeah.
I saw that a blurb in Entertainment Weekly. The amount of words in that series of books is like 20 times the amount from the Game of Thrones series. It's like,
all 15 books. And, there was I started like kind of late, and I was like, I should really read this. Everyone says it's the greatest American fantasy series ever, the American Lord of the Rings. And by that time, all 15 books had come out, and I was like, I need to know what order to read them in, because there's a prequel that doesn't quite fit at the very beginning. So, you read the first 4, and then you read the prequel, I think something like that. But I looked up and I read it in order it's supposed to be. And it has one of the best endings, not like, Game of Thrones where you get ripped off, but the ending of if they can pull it off, the ending of Wheel of Time is great. It's like sleight of hand ending, and I think if they pull it off, it'll be a great ending to a fantasy series, or they'll fall flat on their face.
Yeah, well,
But the Bears and Bengals, the Bears are at home, and if they don't rise up, after the embarrassment in Los Angeles, have some pride and tackle and make some plays, you'll know what sort of season we're on the road to. But a lot of that stuff is coaching. Although the missed tackle, the safeties who don't know to touch a person when he's down, all this stuff is coaching. And in 4 years of coaching, we're still seeing stuff like this. This is what happens when you hire a first-time coach, a first-time GM. For once, I'd like to see the Bears hire guys who've done the job before.
Well, and they have. Chuck Pagano did it, although for just 1 year with the Ravens, and prior to that, Vic Fangio had that lots of experience. The thing is
but the head coach and the GM.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. That ultimately, we like to blame coaches and GMs and so forth, but it always goes back to the top with Ted Phillips and the people making these decisions about the people who make football decisions.
And that's right. That the thing is that the people at the top, and you and I have always talked. I was always like, Ted Phillips, he doesn't make any football decisions, and maybe that's the problem, is that he doesn't make football decisions because for years, I didn't quite understand why people blamed Ted Phillips, but these are two guys who really don't know football. They have to hire somebody to make football decisions for them. So they don't even know what they're looking at when the guy they hire to do football decisions isn't any good.
Right.
So that's the problem that Aldo's talking about, folks.
And then they bring in a consultant, and his idea is a total mess. But be that as it may, John, it's great to talk to you again. You and I are scheduled to have a meeting off track on Friday. I look forward to our chat on Friday.
Absolutely. And, I know you're probably a little bit more busier than me, Aldo. So you just give me a ring, I'll pick up.
Okay, brother. Take care, and thanks for popping in, man.
Thank you.
All right. I just want to close by saying that tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central, 12 noon Eastern, it's the second episode of the Bear Debate. I made some reference to it earlier in the show here. It's an outstanding episode with Tyler and John answering 10 different questions that they debate. And then we have discussion after each one. It's going to be about 30, 40 minutes. So it's a kind of a perfect look at the Bears during your lunchtime. So hopefully you can watch that. But the audio version of that, I'm going to have that ready later tonight, and so I'll post that. So on your commute to work, if you're listening to audio podcasts, take a listen to the Bear Debate. I think you really will enjoy that. And then hockey fans, Bar Down is tomorrow at 2 p.m. The Parisi brothers will talk about all the latest NHL and Chicago Blackhawks news. And then tomorrow night we have a guy who does a Cincinnati Bengals podcast, and he's going to give us the lowdown on the offensive line issues with the Bengals, what the state of Joe Burrow is, give us an entire breakdown of the entire Bengals team. And then after we get his 20-minute breakdown, John does his famous 5 for 55 rants. He has got 55 seconds to answer Bears questions, and nobody does it like John Buffone. He fits in like 5 minutes worth of stuff in 55 seconds. And then there's a roundtable discussion with him, Alyssa Barbieri, the managing director of BearsWire.com, and myself. And then on Thursday, remember Crosstown Crosstalk in the morning, Mike North, even earlier than that. And then at night, it will be the great Danny Shimon breaking down some tape for all of us. So I'm really looking forward to presenting all that to you. And in return, what I'd love for you to do is visit our swag shop. There's a link down below, or just go to deepdishtees.com and you will see the barroom link at the very top, or just type that into the address deepdishtees.com/barroom and get a cool hat, get a t-shirt, get whatever. It really would help us out if you could support us by buying some of our merchandise. That's it for tonight. I will bid adieu, and I want to thank Johnny Santucci for dropping in, and of course the great Dan Aguirre, who I'm going to be setting up a meet and greet. And so hopefully all of you in the Chicago area and those of you going to the Cleveland game will get a chance to come over and meet Dan and say hi to me. So looking forward to that. Until next time, bear down.